you could definitely trim it faster than it already is.
It's people getting used to
Yeah,
the
I mean,
system and looking around at the whole UI. You basically need enough time for somebody
yeah,
that's just come in to read the entire UI,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
that's what you're dealing with.
yeah,
Then you can start trimming it later.
exactly.
So yeah, I
Yeah,
did see that Yeetle was actually just tabbing out to play solitaire on stream the other day, because
yep,
the pre-game was taking so long, and I'm like, oh god, are we back to this again?
yep, yep,
It
yep,
is one of
yep.
those, isn't it? It is.
Well, there's also a certain subset
Yeah.
of player too. Like Yeetle's a great example of a player who's like, and I've known him for a long time.
Mm,
He's a chill guy. He just doesn't really care that much. He's willing to kind of flex his competitive muscles
mm,
versus anything he's thrown versus. And it was the same thing with me with Freya. Like when I was playing Freya, I never banned anybody because I wanted the whole awful experience of playing Freya versus every quote unquote hard counter that there was.
sure, yeah.
So I just let it happen. The only time I started banning was when people started banning Freya towards the end. So I would ban DPS to try and kind of bloat the DPS ban pool, so I was less likely to get banned.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I just didn't really care. And there are a lot of people that are kind of fill that subset. And for those people, bans are probably like just objectively a negative experience. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard one. Like, it's a straight downside that the loading into the game takes longer. That's got to be weighed against the upsides. Just depends where you lean on that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's basically all I want to say for the map ban / heroes. So other things we talked about, wider SR variants in the game due to certain characters being banned, so the system can't predict what rank people are going to be on different characters, so it just makes it a little bit wider. So banning of one tricks and the potential destroying of the healthy Overwatch communities, because let's be honest, the one trick communities are kind of like the most casual devoted players to those type of heroes.
yeah,
Like that's a
yeah.
negative
Depending
in
on
my
the one
mind.
trick, yeah.
Even though we all
And I
agree.
brought up that there's
Sorry.
yeah. I brought up there's like no, it's fine. Like you can like I think objectively like all the Malga one tricks are boosted right now, not by a lot, but it's because he's not very strong right now. But there's like a very careful line. You have to be not very strong, but also a character that is very vulnerable to one tricks.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Counters to off meta heroes, right?
right. So like Malga can just ban Ana, Zen, Orisa, and like
Yeah.
significantly increase their win rates.
You
but
land that Ana
it
ban, you
only
probably
so
increase by
much.
5% your win rate.
Yeah, only so much though, because if Malga is even remotely strong, then he's going to start getting banned at a frequency that's going to start affecting your win rate and balance things out again.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like my opinion on bans is more about like how much is it avoiding that worst case scenario for the average player? Because I think
Yeah.
like while you and I are both purists, I understand them wanting to make a more even experience for a better gameplay experience. Bans and pugs. But for the average player, like there's gonna be a lot of people that are like really freaking annoyed by that kind of crap and like by certain characters, and there's always gonna be those season 8s, And to be honest with you, even Freya, right? Like look at when Freya started getting banned a lot and being abused in ranked versus when the patch went through. Even at the relatively expedited rate that we have now, she would have been 100% pick rate almost for about 2 or 3 weeks before she got nerfed.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
So like.
And
Are we
is it even
thankful for that,
possible
or,
to release
you
a
know?
character on the safe side of strong if they're going to be banned with 100% pick rate?
Yeah.
Like, is
Yeah.
this design philosophy just kind of going to be broken by hero bans? Do we need
Right,
to save new
right,
heroes by default?
Right.
Yeah.
But I also, especially with the recent patch notes, like I do think that it's a legitimate concern, and like I'm saying that like systematically it might be worth the cost, but also, is it also going to change the system of how things are developed and balanced? Like I'm looking at this from hindsight. If hero bans weren't a thing, would Frey have been hotfixed instead of fixed 2 or 3 weeks later?
And there's always that argument that like back in 2018 we could have just had hero bans and we could have just banned Brig, but then like let's be honest, in
But
2018
those developers were incompetent.
They weren't
right? So,
developing the game. I
comparing
mean, they
what we
just
have
won.
now. Right, they were just completely incompetent. So comparing those developers to who we have now is like completely apples to oranges. So it's
yeah, no, 100%.
I think that like we're not in danger of that happening again. I mean, even Malga, as bad as that was yes, that was really bad. But that was also like horrific timing right over Christmas break. You got devs that are out of
they should not have
like
released
3
it to live in a
weeks,
buff state over Christmas break. That was
Yeah, exactly. That was not.
oh damn.
Obviously, as we said, it definitely is being used. I mean, they just said in the patch notes, oh, you can just ban Reaper Tracer on the maps that they're good at.
Screw you, do it for us.
Push. Yeah, all those plat and gold and diamond players that are banning Zarya and Gibraltar are definitely going to strategically ban Tracer on Flashpoint. I love that. They're definitely going to be smart enough to do that. I think that's silly, and I think that that's something that should never be used as a justification.
Yeah.
It's something that internally maybe you kind of factor in, right? But you would never say
You
that.
certainly
Like, I
don't
just
say
think
the
that that's
quiet part out
so
loud, do
tone
you?
deaf.
Right, the patch notes. Maybe that's why the patch notes got
Yeah,
taken
that's
down. I
so.
don't know.
Yeah, it just felt so tone deaf, you know? Like, it's just not a good justification for it, you know? You could say that Tracer's win rate was really bad in lower ranks, and she's a character that isn't 100% pick rate in higher ranks anyway. So, like, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm the #1 Tracer advocate of all people, but I just think that this communication is just, you just don't want that. Like, you just can't say that.
Yeah, it's so funny to have
Especially
a
with a brand new
conversation.
system like map voting. Like, you
Yeah.
don't even know how map voting is going to work out, you know? Like, is Flashpoint Push going to be avoided that much? Are you sure? Like, we just don't know, you know? Like, it just feels a little bit like unintentionally. I'm not going to assume the worst about the devs. Obviously, everyone makes mistakes, but I do think this was a mistake.
Yeah, and it's a whole like, what even is a good Tracer and Reaper map? I mean, I know control point and stuff like that's still good, but it's not like
Yeah,
they're much
Reaper's
worse
really tricky.
on other things, is it?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
whatever the map is, you're going to be teleporting into your backline and trying to assassinate someone. It's not going to do anything
Yeah.
different. They're just like maybe
Yeah.
5% better
yeah.
on control point.
Yeah, and it depends too. Like, I think that there's a real argument for Tracer being really bad on escort until a certain rank, and I would feel like she's probably. I mean, they have access to these numbers, right? So we're just complete conjecture. But I find that like Tracer's actually pretty good in higher ranks on escort once you understand the power of objective, right? A lot of low rank Tracers don't know how to do that. Reaper's another one, right? Like verticality for Reaper's pretty darn good, but are we going to see every low mid rank Reaper abusing that? Like, it just there's just too many factors to like really. So even if we don't know, we can still criticize using that as a metric that's just a one size fits all.
Yeah, 100%. I think the only bit that I didn't get to before we ended last time, the only other point was, sure, the hero bans give the devs objective feedback on what the player base wants, but that doesn't tell them how to fix it, and that doesn't allow them to fix it better or faster or anything like that. I think realistically, a very like, I don't know, locked in person could just say for any meta what is a reasonable thing that is annoying in that meta, and we can just go back through the history and be like,
I agree.
And you still have to
It's more of a
fix it at the end
marketing
of the day.
tool, though. It's more of a marketing tool. Let me give you an example. So you saw my whole Mercy debate thing. Of course, you saw my Mercy debate, you fricker.
Of course, we're going to talk about it a bit later.
Yeah. So the reason I did that then is that was a content piece I've been wanting to do for a while after my Sombra one went really well. Like, I really enjoyed my Sombra one. I felt like I learned a lot. I had a lot of good opinions. Ended kind of feeling like I sided a little bit more with, I think, Sombra Wizard and you in terms of the takes. But long story short, it was really fun. I wanted to do one for Mercy. I waited until Mercy got spicy, and then I did it. And the reason that was interesting is because it becomes more relevant community-wise to start discussing reworking Sombra and Mercy when you see how big of an outlier they are compared to other heroes. So when you talk about who deserves a rework, I just don't think characters like Reaper or Junkrat or I'm trying to think of another one here.
I
whatever,
think
really
it's sad if we end up in a situation where Reaper can't be a character that just kind of dumb has shotguns and walks at the enemy tanks like that. Like,
sure.
I don't think they need it for Reaper.
Sure, my point being it's less to do with those characters specifically, but how like people would say, oh, I don't like this character, I don't like this character, they need to be rework, especially I'm the first guy to talk about that stuff, right? But at the same time, you do have to have a bit of a triage about who not just deserves the rework the most based off of who is objectively the most broken character, but who is being seen abused the most deserves more.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't tell me that we didn't get a Malga nerf just accidentally before the OWCS finals when the guy had like a 3% pick rate and ranked.
It's
visibility matters.
It's difficult for me sometimes because I do think there's some kind of like brain dead things that the devs should have already done for some of these heroes. Like just unchaining Malga from his lifesteal a little bit is pretty no brainer. Sombra not taking ball out of ball form. I mean, come on, guys. How many years has it been? Like it's the worst sharp like interaction, and like I feel like just taking a couple of those away would do a long way to fixing at least quite a lot of the hate for the design. But yeah,
it's not just the popularity, because I get some in my comments that's like, it's not the popularity, it's the ban rates tell you how much people hate that issue. How much people because it's just politics is really what it is. Like you do have to kind of look at what people were crying about and go, they got a point and they're crying about it a lot, so we probably should deal with it, right? If nobody cried about it, do you think Sombra would get reworked again? You would see endless Sombra Reddit threads about how Sombra sucks and I miss the old Sombra. But if it weren't for hero bans, Sombra probably wouldn't be reworked for a couple years, if ever. I mean, I hate to be cynical like that, but that's just how it works.
It's a difficult one, because from my point of view, I think Sombra's in the worst historical state they've ever been in, right? Like, I'm just like, I look at the stacking on of Virus and Hack playing into Virus and the assassination and all stuff like that. Yeah, and it's so interesting that about like 6 months ago, before you, I think it's about 6 months before you had that Mercy one where you were waiting. I kind of like was trying to ring the town bell to talk to you about it, like how Mercy and Zen have been kind of shafted in terms of DPS passive in Season 9 and how that affects them disproportionately to other heroes. And sure, they got, like, Mercy got that 5 extra HPS buff, but it never really made up for it. And then you end up having, you end up doing the Town Hall because it ends up as a interesting issue eventually.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I try to do. I don't know how much it's actively used, but at the very, like in terms of the developers, I have no idea. But I would hope that at the very least the community feels like they're a little bit more educated about what Mercy mains actually think and what Mercy critics actually think, because I think that there's like, that's the problem, is like, I kind of want to demonstrate there, because I always knew this, but I wanted to be proven that Mercy mains, Mercy haters, we may not agree on the solution, but we definitely agree on the problem, right? And so like, I think that that's like the first step towards a lot of productive discourse, and I think that that can be objectively useful even as a developer, because then you can go, if we tweak that, nobody's gonna freak. At least there's always gonna be somebody who's gonna tweak, but like most Mercy players aren't gonna cry if you take away or work out the pocket playstyle. Because I think a lot of people think that, oh yeah, Mercy's just like AFKing behind a wall. Turns out, no, they don't. Most Mercies don't. So
it's triage and movement, right? That's kind of like all that they like.
Exactly.
Triage, movement. They're like the movement to be able to be skillful in order for them to be able to have some skill scaling on the triage, right? That's kind of the whole point.
Right. My effort is that like I want to prove that like most people probably actually have pretty good tastes when it comes to good hero design. Not everyone has their differing opinions. I mean, case in point, right? But like most people can call it an orange, an apple, an apple. You know, we could talk about what type of citrus is the best, you know, but like, hey, this is not good. We should change these things, you know?
Yeah, I mean, people, what is good hero design, right? It's stuff that isn't overly restricting on the choices other people can make in the game, and it's stuff that isn't heinously annoying. That's basically like the two things go together, and also be really nice to use. That's really like the core of what I think.
Yeah, you said it with Marvel Rivals. I think the best way is where it's like, it's so broken it's fun, but somebody's paying for that.
Yeah,
somebody's paying for that. So broken it's fun.
Every bit of joy comes at the expense of something else, and you can make things that are more fun to do than they are to have done to you, or you can make things the opposite. And you just got to really pay attention to that. And I think it's pretty intuitive for most people what is too like not very much fun to do, but really unfun to be done to, right? I think that's pretty intuitive. I don't think that's a hard balancing problem.
I just accidentally rang. Okay, never mind. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. I forgot about interesting
this.
one.
I'm gonna ring this. Wait.
Why do you have a bell?
Anytime you make a good point, I'm just gonna use it.
Yeah. So
why do I not have a bell?
Dusty for the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have an interesting one that you might disagree with, because I've heard in the past this is a 6v6 5v5 kind of thing. So everyone can tune out mentally for the next like couple of minutes. So. I feel like bans are just more necessary in 5v5, and they're kind of extraneous in 6v6 in a general way. Would you agree with the statement, right, that the game has less mechanisms for dealing with like sharp design in 5v5? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. Well, there's just more. I mean, it's just probability. Like, you look at like, Roadhog as a character. There's just gonna be more meat between you and the Roadhog. You're less likely to deal with him as an individual. There are more likely to have more tools of dealing with him as an individual, and his individual impact is going to be diluted.
Yeah, you're more likely to have somebody that can shoot up. You're more likely to have somebody that can jump.
Everything is smoothed with 6v6 in general in terms of like compositional design and so on.
Yeah. So, do you think Widow's more oppressive in 5v5 or 6v6? This is something that I've heard come up loads of times and nobody's given a good answer for. Everyone gives a terrible answer.
My answer is perfect.
Yeah.
My answer is perfect. I think it's objectively depends on your ability to contest space. So, I think in defense, it's way harder to contest a Widow. Like, let's just ignore certain hero designs that have come out since 5v5.
Yeah, sure.
Fair argument. Like, if you had Kiriko in 6v6, okay, whatever. I think Defender's advantage Widow is oppressive in 66 because you can't actively contest the angles and reach her space as easy as you can in 5v5. And Attacker as Widow is objectively worse because it's way easier to shove her into a locker.
So I'm just processing. Because that's really interesting for me. Because
you have less space to take space. Defense, you have your space contested less often because your tanks are absorbing most of that space.
Yeah, from my coaching and like from everything that I've seen recently, I always find the Bull versus Widow paradox like really funny, where I feel like in 5v5 quite a lot of the time the Widow goes off on an off angle, the Bull goes, oh, I'll go deal with the Widow, goes into the Widow for like 30 minutes, kills her like 17 times, and then the Widow's team wins because the Bull's off doing that the entire game. I feel like there's a little bit of it's too expensive to have the tank deal with the sniper in 5v5. That's my main problem with it. At least in 6v6, if you're saying they can back up the Widow on an angle with a tank, they can go Sigma Widow, go shield it off and stuff like that.
I see what you're saying. You're basically saying like, yeah, you froze as well. I think what you're saying is like the expense of that uptime and how long it takes to contest a Widow.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I don't think that there's an objective answer there. But I would say I don't look at it that way. I think your ability to pressure a Widow, even just clear her out of an angle, takes you 2 seconds. And then you still have that capability to do that. You're valuing tank resource over every other resource, which I understand given 5v5. But I think either Widow's unsupported and she dies, or Widow's supported, and your Kevster principling, pulling 2 or 3 resources for an extended period of time. Congratulations, you're tanking. So I don't have hard numbers, but my opinion is like I just think defensive Widow in 6v6 is just oppressive, and I think this matches up as well with. I mean, obviously this is ignoring larger meta context, but like Widow just feels so much easier to strategize around in 5v5, not just due to the different characters that are available, because a lot of those characters were still available in 6v6. It just never feels like you're entirely safe playing Widow in 5v5. Like there's always a way to access you. Part of that's due to map design, but I don't know. To me, it's just.
Yeah, I think quite a lot of 5v5 is dealer's choice with the kind of like space and stuff like that. You've obviously got more space in 5v5, nobody's saying you don't, but the idea is in 5v5 you get into space that is uncontested or contested by a DPS. In 6v6 you have to fight for that space versus a tank the majority of the time, right?
Right.
And
I think that's
you
kind
can't
of
win
right
that
there.
fight,
Like,
it just means you have to.
Right. I think that's kind of the answer. My answer right there is that like 5v5 is advantageous toward DPS that are just more comfortable duelists, and I just don't see Widow as a good duelist. She's a character that punishes your inactivity or your inaction or your lack of focus. She doesn't duel well.
Yeah, I feel like the only comment I was going to make is I feel like the Venom Mine and the gun damage from 13 to 14 is a little bit harsher in 5v5 because I feel like the DPS have to deal with her a lot more of a majority of the time. So maybe that's going to swing it one way or the other. And I feel like because of the sharpness of 5v5 and because of the fact that like tank hate abilities like snipers, like hard poke and hard dive are so much easier to flex around or buffer with 2 tanks, I feel like the bans are just so much more necessary in 5v5. So I really want to just like admit that as an outright.
No, I agree.
Yeah, cool. So Tracer buff, question mark. Are Blizzard allergic to the number 5.7 instead of 6?
Well, they didn't do 5.5 for a long time, no? I mean, I distinctly remember on like early Overwatch 2, we would ask for over 5.5 and they just refused to do it. So Tracer was, I think, right near the end of 2022, I want to say that she dropped back down to 5, I think.
I don't understand.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, like,
I don't get it.
I don't know. It's like, to me, this feels like, is this going to be one of the things that we in hindsight go, remember back when we refused to do 5.7? It's the same thing as they didn't do half numbers. It's the same thing when they didn't want to do 225, 275. It's the same thing when they said that they didn't want to change hitbox sizes. And obviously that's very relevant right now. So I don't know. I don't know. To me, it's less about how much they changed her damage and more to do with the fact that they buffed her at all. That clearly implies numbers going on behind the scenes that says something that's not super flattering about Tracer. And instead of getting that, we get some weird map hero ban explanation. Yeah. Like, Alec Dawson's already confirmed it, so like this is already a done deal. Give us the numbers, man. Like, I understand the average community is going to misconstrue it because they're just morons, and even people like you and I are going to misconstrue stuff. But like, at
Oh
least we
yeah,
can
for fun.
try to give context for it, right? You know. So it's like it just I don't, because that's just the thing is like I want to advocate for the Blizzard devs because they've done such a good job in the last couple of years,
They
especially.
to be clear, like for everyone, Blizzard devs are the best dev team in the world right now in terms of communication for any
That is a
video game.
spicy take.
Any video game. You give
But
me
I
any
don't
video
know
game
any
that's
other
better.
context,
Come
so
on.
I will take your word for it.
So if anyone's
But
going
I
to do
do want
well
to
with this
compliment the work they've
situation,
done.
it's them, right? It's always going
Sure,
to be them.
I think they do a great job. I just don't have anything to compare them to. So
Mm.
that being said, it's hard to advocate for changes that I don't understand because I don't have any
Yeah.
context for why the change happens. So I can sit here and conjecture, but I don't. So people are like, "Oh, Tracer's broken," and I'm like, I don't think so, but I don't know. Like your conjecture versus my conjecture, who knows? And like, I hate that stuff so much. You know,
Yeah.
like let people like me give context. You know, let me play the fence sitting devil's advocate that I normally do, but I can't do that if you don't give me some statistics to work with. You know?
Okay, let's close out hero bands, right? Let's close out hero bands, move on. So like my points for hero bands basically like everyone loves the choice, but like if there are objectively good bands in terms of the heroes or the map, you don't really have choice anymore. And if Tracer becomes a perma-ban target, like what does that do to her community? And then what do we do when
Tracer's
the
cooked?
what do we do when the ban misses on maps where she's good? That's the other question, right?
Yeah.
Do we just have a terrible experience because we happen to accidentally not ban Tracer? Like, is that really what we're leading to?
Yeah, it's really in your best interest to not have a brokenly OP character because you're just never going to be able to play her.
Yeah,
so,
you can't just get a bigger ban bucket every single time. You can't just add more heroes in and say, okay, we'll have 3 bans and 4 bans because they're purposely unbalancing a character in order to like let us do it on certain maps. I just wish they'd use it as the slack that it is rather than saying, oh, we got slack, that's nice, let's pull some in, right?
I mean that's
frustrating.
I feel like everyone agrees with that. You know, it's a tool. It should not be used as a replacement. Like it's a temporary, like, I don't know, framework. It's a piece of wood. It's not supposed to replace actual steel plates. You know.
Yeah, it's like a spare tire, right? So it's a spare tire. It's meant to run. You're not meant to just put on the spare tire and be like, yeah, I'm off. So that's basically all I want to talk about hero bands. You got anything else?
No.
Have you been red pilled on hero bands? Are we starting the manosphere of hero bands?
I'm just more along the lines of I like hero bands, but I'm gonna start criticizing every single time that they're used or babysitted as like slack or latency in terms of actual execution of design and reworks.
Yeah. It doesn't replace anything, and I don't really think it informs you that well on how to replace or do the things you need to do, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Cool. So Freya, I want to talk about Freya next. The fix to Freya went from look, I got a little Freya video. Went from 3.5 to 4 to 4.5 seconds. In terms of her dash cooldown, right? That's basically been the fix to Freya's crazy and everywhere, and it sucks because they're insta killing me from across the map. What are your thoughts on Freya to start? We'll just
I mean, my hot take is I like her a lot. I like her design a lot. I had a lot of fun playing her. I had a lot of thinking. I think she's again one of those characters like in the right hands can do so much, similar to Tracer, where it just feels oppressive. But I think people who feel like they oppress with her need to go one trick her in ranked and then come back and tell me how you feel, right? Because she's harder than people give her credit for. This is a chronic hit scan problem where everybody says hit scan's easy, Hanzo easy, Cassie easy, Ashe easy, Widow easy, Sojourn easy, Freya easy, and so on. And then same thing with Doomfist, right? Like a character's easy, it's dumb. Go play it. Tell me what you think. Now, she's overtuned, definitely, and I think I have fallen less in love with the 2-tap the more I've played. I don't think it's necessary for the character to be fun. I would hope it's not necessary for the character to be functional. And I've brought up this concern with the developers, and they are aware of that, but their concern is that without the 2-tap, she just may not have the lethality. My suggestions involve something along the lines of let's keep the updraft at like 10, keep the dash at 3.54, 4.5 towards a resource, but it's not available constantly. Can she function if her breakpoints aren't quite 250 with 2-tap?
Yeah, I feel like it should
if you made her two.
For me, 240
You know, and
is where I'm
there's
happy
so
with.
many.
Like
I feel like Right. I don't know, but I feel like surely, like, especially because she's 225, just make her 250. Go for it. And even stuff like her ultimate is chronically goofy because the thing I've been asking for a long time, and I think they will at some point, but I think she's still overtuned for it to be a thing, is I want to dash when I ult. I want to move. Let me use my ultimate in a functional way without dying instantly every time I use it when somebody's looking at me, right?
Yeah.
There's like so many like little quality of life buffs and HP tweaks and that they could do with her, maybe lean into some more different perk options, to keep her functionally strong without the two tap. I don't know. Like I get that she is absolute. People saying that it's a one tap, it's just bad faith, right? Yes, it's obviously not a one tap. It is more effort than most one shots in the game.
Yeah.
But I also can see that
it
is difficult to do, but it is also difficult to outplay when it's done well. And that's the problem with one shot, or two shots. So I don't know. I would, fingers crossed. Let's try utilizing more of her verticality. Let's try utilizing more of her HP. Let's allow her ultimate to feel more functional. I think that there's a real concern, I think, from the developers that she just won't be functional pressure-wise without at least the threat of two tap.
Yeah, 100%. So my like center concern is to do with just increasing cooldowns as a balance knob. I think they've done that a lot in terms of like fine-tuning numbers.
I think it's good with dash. Sorry to interrupt, but I think it's
ahead.
okay with dash because it actually becomes a cooldown and not an infinite resource essentially.
Yeah.
But then I was really not happy with the updraft change. Not because I don't think that. I mean, I understand, but it felt bad that her unique mobility now becomes a 12-second cooldown. It's like like.
It's difficult because
it's not overly long, but it just
one of the main problems with Freya is the like counterability problem of just being in the sky, right? Safari problem all over again, where she can be in the sky, therefore you need somebody that is able to deal with her so she's not uninteractive, right? So the increased cooldown really deals with that in a meaningful way, and that is one of the things that makes her really annoying.
Well, they did change the scope time though. That was the thing that I specifically asked for. Is like so she can't basically permanently scope, and that was like that plus updraft cooldown.
Yeah. So I just want to like bring you down a little path and see if you'll follow me, if that's okay.
Sure. Okay, sure.
Okay. So
the shippers are going crazy.
Moira orb. Right? What happens to the average, or what is actually good to do with Moira Orb if we don't change anything else about it but double the cooldown?
Repeat the question. I understand the last part, but what was the question?
What happens to the use case of Moira Orb, or how people use it on
what
average?
comes to the use case? Okay, use case. People become way more reticent to use it. Essentially, they become way pickier. I mean, you see it with ultimates all the time, right? The classic support problem of where people just don't press Q because they're scared to misuse it.
Yeah. I think when you increase cooldowns, what happens inevitably is they become reactive, or they become used at very big moments, or when you don't want to waste the value of them.
Correct. I felt that with the on-and-age change. Like, even in my own gameplay, as much as I know, I feel scared to miss it now. Like, really scared. Like, not just like a healthy, I misused my cooldown, like anything else, but it starts to feel like Winston bubble, but worse. Oh no, I'm basically useless now.
And sure, it's partially psychological if you don't want to waste it, but it is, in a meaningful way, actually worse to waste it when it's got a longer cooldown, because the bigger percentage of your power budget by default. So, like, how do we fix Susie, right? You could make it less frustrating, right? To make it so that it's not being used reactively to deny things, right? You could give it the 40% speed boost from a perk. You could make it do less of the invulnerability. You could half the cooldown of it. And when you do things like that, what essentially happens is the uptime at the time where people want to peel stuff becomes lower, even though you're halving the cooldown, because more often Kirikos at least at medium levels are going to be using it in a really terrible way aggressively, right? So by lowering the cooldown of abilities, like Lamp, for instance, if we took a third off of Lamp's cooldown and gave it like, I don't know, 10% damage boost while in the Lamp, it would actually become less frustrating instead of more frustrating to play against, in my mind.
Yeah, agreed. Because it's still, when people talk about like their worst, most offensive things, I think frequency is actually kind of overrated. I think intensity of how negative that situation is honestly even more important.
Yeah, in my
With a
mind,
nuance, right?
yeah, in my mind, most of the abilities should have an aggressive use case, right? Like we
Yeah,
reworked
yeah,
Life
trust
Weaver,
me. I
right?
agree.
Life Weaver with Grip, right? It is so entertaining and fun to be able to use that aggressively to pull somebody into the enemy team. So my question is basically like, how do we work Lifeweaver to be able to use this aggressively as a start of the design, right? Like, what can we do to enable this really long ability? So, like,
Yeah.
very simple. We gave him 2
We
petals,
talked
2
about it earlier
dashes,
today.
lower health pool, so he's less resilient to getting into the space, and then enable a bit more regeneration so he can get out. Right, things like
Yeah.
that to just enable these aggressive use cases of Suzu, Lamp, Life Grip, all these really problematic abilities. And I think that's why Rivals has aged so poorly as time went on, in my mind, because pretty much all of their cooldowns are better off used reactively. And then they start layering
Yeah.
over the top of each other, and then you either get an insta kill on somebody in the back line, or they've infinite peeled with like bubbles.
And even through the design of the cooldowns too, like that the way that they balance them, I think a weird kind of unorthodox example that really annoyed me when I found out about it
Yeah.
was I was obsessed with Winter Soldier because of how the cooldowns were kind of like risk reward, you know, and
Yeah.
this the E slow, right, the orb, right, was really good for spam damage on main. It was okay, right, for ult charge, but it really opened you up to 1v1s if you misused it, and it also was really good for tank slow, like tank utility. You know, whether that's good or not, it was like this does damage, but this also CCs a little bit, so you might want to use this on a flank or you might want to use this on the front line. Then they just gave him 2 of them. So that's the opposite extreme where
Yeah.
like there isn't any cooldown management anymore. You just use it on whatever you have because if you ever get dove, you're gonna have it. You ever hook a tank, you're gonna have it. There's just no resource management anymore. So the whole like dynamic of the cooldown is completely pointless.
Yeah. In my mind, you really need to pay a lot of attention to cooldowns in terms of passivity, right? You don't want them to be always used reactively. You want a meaningful choice to be made between using them reactively or
Yes.
using them proactively, so that some of the time when somebody goes in, it's not going to be there all of the time.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like quick play versus ranked, right? It's like when you lose a ranked game, should you have your toenails hammered? No, but you should lose points. There should be consequences for losing a game. That's what makes competitive games fun. But then you compare that to quick play where there's no consequences, especially before the quick play penalty, which I'm a big fan of, by the way,
Yeah.
because people are like, oh, it doesn't matter, it's quick play, I'm not going to even play. And then it's not fun at all anymore. So there's a balance. Do you want a cooldown that's really long to where you feel like you're just going to go, like, I'm going to end it right now. I misuse a cooldown. I might as well I'm useless,
Yeah.
right? Versus a cooldown that doesn't matter at all. There's no punishment whatsoever for missing it. There's just, as always, there's nuance. You have to decide like where you want this power spike of the cooldown to be.
Yeah, and I'm a big variance guy, right? Like, we're in a hero-based shooter genre. I want the most diversity between the cast as possible, and I'm fine with some of the casts having these long cooldowns, but you have to acknowledge what makes them annoying in my mind, right? Like that is part of it, and just increasing the cooldown guarantees it's going to be there to peel 100% of the time. So taking that to Freya and changing up to 4.5, Freya puts out a lot of implied pressure just by existing with free bolts on enemy tanks. Just having those free bolts implies that the tank can't do a lot of things. If we increase the cooldown, what's going to happen to the average Freya player? Are they going to just take that value they're getting just from not using it? Are they going to only look for assassinations with their 2 bolts and then wait to regen so they have the third one so they can be putting out more effective pressure on the enemy tank? I'm really concerned with like just increasing cooldown, and it seems like Blizzard think that just Baptiste Lamp is overperforming 2 extra seconds. Go ahead, right? We've changed.
Did you remember when Heal Station was like 18 seconds or something?
Yeah,
goofy like that.
It's these crazy ones, and these like this is like old design, obviously, and I think the dev team has moved mostly past it. But I really want them to be careful with the length of cooldowns and the incentives behind that length, right? And what it makes the average player do.
I agree. To be honest, I haven't played Freya much since the patch change, but I think Dash is honestly on paper should be okay. Like it is a pretty big percentage increase, right? But having a 4.5 second resource, I don't think is that big of a deal. I think that kind of crosses the line into just normal resource management. Maybe it doesn't work with their gameplay loop. I agree with you fundamentally. I'm just not so sure. Again, I haven't played it. Maybe it really does screw you up, but like gameplay loop, actually having to kind of control your dashes on a gameplay loop is just, I don't really have a problem with that, to be honest. Like that kind of feels to be normal. At least if her power spike is going to be in hitting those combos. Now, whether that should be the case or not, that's maybe the question.
Yeah, it's just to point out that you can increase Freya's cooldowns, and theoretically this might not actually be the case. She can become more annoying after you decrease her uptime, because she might be holding these bolts for exactly when she can get these assassinations because it takes so long to regen. Right, in the exact same way as like if you just increase Lamp's cooldown, Lamp can become more annoying in general. It's not just.
I mean,
well,
that's definitely a cynical way of looking at it. That's definitely worst case scenario. But I guess your point being is that it definitely doesn't solve the issue, and 100% I agree with that.
Yeah, at least if you are looking to solve the issue through that, you need to be really careful about what incentives people get when they get their hands on it, right?
And I'm convinced again, it's not so much about frequency as it is about intensity when it comes to interactions.
Yeah.
And I think Frey is probably in a much worse state right now, and I know people's opinions lag, but the fact that she can still 2-tap is probably why people still think that she's completely wildly overtuned, because she still has that spike that she has always had access to.
Yeah, it's not going to stop annoying them, right? And maybe it's happening like, maybe we've reduced her uptime by like 30%, and maybe the spike is happening 10% less. Right? That's still really annoying, and we decrease the amount of fun you're having on the hero by a significant amount in order to do it. Right? And there's got to be reasonable balance here. So like this, I think, applies to a lot of things in the game. Right? Like Ramatra's form. That's been a thorn in my side for years at this point, that Ramatra cannot press the form
He's
button.
just the worst character. He has so much potential, and he's, I think, a great example of an excellent character, and even hero design. Some of the cooldowns are interesting, and just the worst execution I think I have seen in Overwatch ever.
Yeah. He can't press the form button to do something aggressive, unless he's killing something. Right? He just can't. Because if you need it in 3 seconds or it's wasted, you are so vulnerable because it's such a big cooldown, it's such a long cooldown after it. And I feel like...
And shield and vortex, 13 freaking second cooldown, unbreakable shield for that matter. You know, like that's great. Like,
first thing
let's
we
just
did
have a shield that's just pointless shooting.
Just half all of Ram's cooldowns and make him flow and reduce the efficacy of them. He now like is a flowing character that wants to use form aggressively and punch into the enemy team backline. Is there somebody that waits on a corner, waits until they overextend and just like tries to assassinate one person, or waits until the ult presses the form and blocks?
It's weird. Okay, so I got somebody in my chat that says something that just like poked a button in my brain.
Yeah.
Deacon says 16 seconds and 66, and I'm just remembering. We had this discussion with 66 during its initial thing, where the developers decided to make gameplay loop combos for tanks decisively longer. That was a deliberate choice, and I deliberately criticized it at the point in time. And at the point, I was like, hey, can we just make those gameplay combos like less effective? But like, we don't want tanks AFKing. They specifically did that. That is
I'm glad you got there before
stylistic,
I did,
philosophical choice, because I'm like, no. Cardiac, what was freaking cardiac arrest on? Like 18 seconds or something for Malga?
Stupid,
you know,
man.
like something insane.
Everything's
like,
a lamp, right? Everything's a lamp.
Guys, press. No, we want people pressing buttons and for them to be effective, but no.
Blizzard wants you to save them until next week.
This is where I do think there is a legitimate criticism and a conversation that must be had, because I'm fairly certain that this is a philosophical belief that they have that I just don't agree with in this front. There's some stuff that's like Mercy. I think that they probably understand what Mercy's problem is, but it's just more of, do they have the resources, the time right now? Okay, we'll get there maybe eventually. Then there's stuff like this that I just don't think they understand. Or maybe, like, I know that's really egotistical to me to say, you know, the professional game developers, but I really think they're wrong in this. And I know
it's so hard to get
really
this far
think
into
they're
the
wrong with
development
it.
cycle of Overwatch and think that like this is a very fundamental thing. Longer cooldowns means using it more passively and using it more reactively, right? And then make big sweeping decisions such as ruining my effing mode by putting 2 seconds on every single cooldown and making it so that you can't use anything. You just have to sit on it and wait and wait. And it's all I want is for me to be able to press the form button on Ram and go punch something. But I can't, because if I screw it up, I'm just going to be instantly murdered afterwards.
Yeah, and again, there's nuance, like everything. Like having vulnerability windows are important. Like if you force a cooldown, you want them to actually matter, right? But like there's a reason. Like we're not stupid, okay? Like what's too long for a movie? 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours? I don't know, but it's not 6, okay? It's too long, okay? So like you look at a cooldown and you're like, hey, we should probably aim for more effective cooldowns being in the 10 at most 12-second range, right? Like that's plenty of time in the gameplay loop of how fast-paced this game is to find a punishing window.
Or you can be like Rivals and put it on like 45 seconds.
Right, exactly. Like that we don't even like. I think that's another great example though. Like those cooldowns are really
Yeah,
problematic in Rivals as well. Like
someone's,
it's
yeah.
not this is like this isn't. It's different when you have an MMO when everyone has 40 different buttons. You know what I'm saying? But it just doesn't work with Overwatch's gameplay loop. And 66 being more tanks equals longer gameplay loop to me is a perfect encapsulation of what's wrong with that philosophy, right? It's not an accident that these cooldowns are longer. It's by design. It's something that they have in their philosophy, and I am begging them to change that. And the reason why I'm like saying this is not because I'm venting. It's because they have changed their philosophy. They've changed their philosophy about a lot of things: gameplay
Yeah.
loop, design, dynamics, mobility. They've changed their philosophy about public stats, right? And hero bans, right? So they can change. I'm not right about everything. You're not right about everything, but I think we're right about this thing.
I think they're the most
This is too
receptive
much.
dev team. As I said, like
Yes.
that is
So
probably in the world right
reconsider.
now.
I will gladly have a conversation. Realth, you or I will gladly have a conversation, and we will do it. We'll play some Realth Pugs with lower cooldowns, you know, and like slightly less effective cooldowns, and prove it. You know, it sucks to not play the game, and I think that's such a big problem. But
I just
okay,
love Spilo
continue.
falling deeper and deeper and deeper into my trap. It's so much fun.
Dude,
Anyway,
I'm telling you, I literally, with the first thing when we were testing 66, I was like, this is too freaking long, guys. You don't need, I understand windows of vulnerability. Like, this is too freaking long. We want to play the game. I mean, Samito has said this stuff for years, right? Like, it's just too much. So that's a lot of bits right there. Nice.
yeah, he's just bombing me to distract me. Thank you very much, Reactionary. Love you very much. Yeah, so next, I think the next topic is Mercy. Because I didn't get, I was working the day of the Mercy debate,
Yes,
and
I remember.
think all
I
the
asked
Mercy
you, and
mains
you're
are
like,
dumb.
I'm working. I have a job. I'm like, shut the frick up.
Yeah, sorry I don't have booked out coaching
Quit your
sessions for
job.
the next 3 months. Jesus Christ. Oh, by the way, if everyone on Spilo server, I do 1 free VOD review per person if you just put it in my Discord.
Yeah, what is your coaching situation like? I trust your coaching, but I don't even know if you do it very much anymore.
My coaching situation is I basically do it as a freelance person that does it occasionally when people ask. I've got rates and stuff like that, but
you're
yeah.
a freaking charity, and you screw all my students out because you just give it for free. I see how it is.
It's a 20-minute non-talking
My
VOD
union
review.
will
It's
be
not like
contacting you after this call, FYI.
It's
Just
not like
so
I
you're
put much
screwed.
effort into it. Like, how am I supposed
Too
to
late,
compete
buddy.
with you? You
You're
work
screwed.
out every
You're
day. You've
screwed.
got a bloody
You're gonna have a
muscle
horse
top on
head in
right
your
now.
bed this morning. Just wait for it.
How am
It's
I
over,
supposed to
buddy.
compete? You're the attractive coaching, and I'm just the slob.
Hey, listen,
British
man.
guy
People like
coaching.
British accents. They go, "What's that weird screeching noise?" I'm like, "All right, you know." All right.
Mercy. Yes. So I think all the Mercy mains are silly and don't know what's wrong. Okay, I don't think they know what's wrong.
Wait a second. There's an IQ curve. Dumb, bronze, Genji mains, and then Realth. Mercy, silly. No, Mercy mains have a good point. This is where I'm at, and then you're over here. No, the Mercy mains dumb.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So we just had a long conversation about passivity and cooldowns, right? Guardian Angel, from 1.5 to 2.5 seconds with a jump on the end of it. But it has also been massively increased in efficacy since, since 2018. Let's just put on Guardian Angel comparison there with a bit of Neander in the background. So it's massively been increased.
So much effort in this. This is nuts.
Well, it's like 10 minutes. It's
good.
massively increased in efficacy in terms of the amount that it does, and its cooldown has been increased at the same time, right? Being able to zip one direction, 180, directly in the other direction in 1 frame, instant acceleration is a massive buff to that cooldown, right?
Yeah.
And it needed.
Yeah, I agree.
It needed the massive cooldown increase at the same time in order to be balanced. Yeah. Otherwise, it's absolute horseshit. Just complete.
I don't think. I also think 2.5 seconds is like a reasonable window for spamminess, but there are windows of vulnerability. Like if you ever played Mercy back in the day, like there was, like the movement was way simpler, but like she was never still. Ever. Like you could never find a window of vulnerability, like at all.
I'm here listening to your debate, and do the Mercy mains even remember how Mercy movement worked? I played Mercy for like a year when I was at university, incredibly stressed and just wanted to relax instead of having to sweat my brains out. And the movement for this character was every single second it's off cooldown, I would use that button, super jump into the skybox, use vertical cover, go behind something. If I was just pocketing someone, I'd be doing it from the air on a building above them while beaming them. Now, the cooldown is so long that if I try and do that, do you know what happens? I die immediately because someone just jumps me and does enough damage to kill me. If there is a DPS dying on an angle, right, and I go save them, previously, I could go over there, super jump up, use vertical cover, jump back, and I would be fine doing that. Now I need to go over there, instantly 180, zip in the other direction, have my beam on them for like 1.5 seconds, and then try and survive for the next like 2 seconds. It's just crazy the amount of passivity in Mercy's kit that's just been put in by this like very simple change. I don't even care about the super jump change, to be honest. I care about the fact that you can 180 zip in the opposite direction on instantly.
Okay, I'm confused. The Mercy complaint was that, I mean, I don't think this is the solution, was more that like the increased cooldown encourages passivity, right?
Yes.
And you're saying, I don't know what you're saying.
If there's a DPS on an angle and I'm sitting on the DPS on an angle, I am not, current day, I am not pressing Guardian Angel until they get dove and I'm threatened.
Sure.
Previously, I would be super jumping into the skybox, flying around a pillar, just to get myself into the air above them so I could take a more aggressive angle on the enemy team.
I guess, but like, isn't the whole point of like the discussion more to do with like, I think this discussion needs to start with what are the rewards for making Mercy move and then we talk about how that movement should function. When we did the discussion, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't give a frick how Mercy GA functions. We'll cross that when we get there. My point was more about like, how do we fundamentally make it rewarding for Mercy to move? You kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I get what you're saying, but like, I think like it's more like semantics at this point. Not semantics, it's more like order of operations, you know? Like, I don't know what cooldown it needs to be on. I don't know how it needs to function. I just need a good reason to use it. And I don't think GA spamming just so that you're constantly available. Like, I don't think being ADHD with your GA is like, oh, maybe I get dove at that exact second. I'm min-maxing my amp time. Who gives a flying frick? There's no reason for you to do anything outside of take as few risks as possible, you know?
But if you, okay, so I've done it one way, right? I've done it one way with you on the DPS on an angle as Mercy. You don't use Guardian Angel till you get dove, right? I've done it that way.
Yeah.
And then you do it the other way of you're on main and the DPS starts getting threatened, and you have to be so careful in the way that you get over there. Sometimes you don't even get over there in general, right? Like the amount of not pressing that button I do in my Mercy matches is insane. I will literally just stand statically pocketing somebody instead of what actually was good to do before, which is, well, just like play as close to the corner as possible, but you've always got the Guardian Angel up, so you're able to use it aggressively. I just think that there's so much.
Well, you're saying the same thing that I said when they nerfed Mercy's HP to 225, which I said this is the wrong approach, where you're making risks, you're making them more punishable, and therefore it's the same thing as increasing cooldowns. Or now you're too scared to do anything because you're gonna get punished for it. So I might as well just take the safe way out. My problem has been that she's the only character that can AFK behind a wall and get value, right? When you're on an angle with a DPS, you can peeking the enemy is risk. Mercy doesn't do that. So either you need to fundamentally change what Mercy does behind that wall, or how long she can stay behind that wall before she's physically forced to move, or you need to actually make her peek and do something peeking like other characters.
Yeah, we tried a couple of different variants of it in our code. We tried the higher health when you start and that reduces over time. We tried like damage boost can only be timed. All of it just like, in my opinion, just feels really clunky when you actually try it properly. I haven't found a solution yet that feels good. In my mind, Mercy in my mode has enough incentives to continuously swap targets, and so therefore has the incentives to continuously move around. I can't, unfortunately.
The problem is you're good enough to do that. You're good enough to get punished by DPS that are good enough to shoot your freaking 225 HP fat head. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, You have to promise you have to look at it from both ends of the spectrum. You have to punish people that don't move and reward people who do move. Usually the priority should be put from like a psychology standpoint on rewarding good behavior first rather than punishing bad behavior.
Yeah.
But I do think you need a little bit of both. And right now she doesn't have either.
Okay. Let's move on and activate the snare trap, yeah?
Snare trap.
So
I'm ready.
You've talked about passivity and cooldowns.
Okay.
And amount of time it takes to regenerate them, and if you have more stuff, but you have a longer cooldown, it makes you a little bit less inclined to use it in general, at least on average.
Sure. What trap did I walk into?
1, 2, 3, something, season 9, 30% DPS passive is the road we're going down here. If you
talk me through it.
Okay, so I see the 250 health pools.
Let me say my thing really fast. Okay. I think I don't like the DPS passive.
Yes.
I don't like it for the brain dead team play aspect. I don't like that it lingers. I don't like that it is used as a blanket nerf, as a way of dealing with overtuned sustain.
Yes.
And I also don't like the fact that it's justified because it makes DPS unique. We don't need to make DPS feel unique. Let them do their own thing uniquely. We don't need hard role segregation. And it is also the least satisfying expression of DPS output because it's just there. You don't even see if it's happening. It's not more damage. It's not more this or that. It's just, oh yeah, the target gets less healing, which honestly doesn't even matter that much in duels. It's the worst type of passive where it's free value. And it's frustrating to play against and not satisfying to use. The case in point of being the worst possible thing. DPS passive. Health pools, it's screwed with breakpoints. I'm not so sure that they've been consistent with keeping certain things up to date with Season 9 that are non-aim related. And I also don't think, I mean, it was easily the most half-baked thing we've had in Overwatch 2. And I'm not convinced that we've actually stayed true to the initial goal of dealing with burst damage. I think there
was so many things changed. It's so hard to see what the goal was, right?
It is. A lot of it has been reverted. My problem with Season 9 has been that it didn't really do what it intended to do all that much. It was inconsistent in application, and we've reverted a large portion of the things. If it needed to be changed, deal with it on a selective basis. My defense for Season 9 is more of the classic Spilo Devil's Advocate, where everybody blames it from, infant death, cancer, and male pattern baldness. It's like the thing to say by the brain dead YouTube commenters because they're parroting somebody else.
I don't think they know what's wrong with it, right?
They don't know what's wrong with it. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's been nearly as disruptive as it was initially. It was inoffensive and annoying at first. Now it's just kind of whatever.
Well, everyone loved it at
for
first.
me.
It's a massive peak in the player.
Well, everyone loved it at first because it's a dive meta, and don't let anybody gaslight you into thinking that all metas are created alike. They're not. Frick you. But the thing is that like people now, it's more of what. I'm more of a purist like you, so I'm more against it just because I don't think that they really did a good job of the execution, and I don't think it's really been justified with what I've seen. And I also don't like some of the things that came with it, specifically that DPS passive, that role passive, which, I would say is not really that big of a deal, but clearly it is still a big deal. And the heal passive getting nerfed as well. The best thing of Season 9, it just it makes me want to climb up a wall. So I think there are objectively bad things about DPS, the Season 9 thing. I think by far the most objective bad thing was its execution was just terrible. I mean, they just forgot like 25, 30 different damage sources.
Yeah, I remember you made a list at some point,
like,
right?
It was like a list of like, I don't even know how, it must have been 40 or 50 things. It's like, guys, like
someone's job has to be to make that list, right? Somebody there has.
Yeah. And I think this is like, okay, so you ready for a spicy take? All right, here's my spicy take.
I'm ready.
My biggest problem with Season 9 is that I'm scared of change for the sake of change. I'm an old fart in my rocking chair, and I like perks, even though I'm not so sure that they're perfectly competitively balanced, because they add some interesting choices and they don't really compromise things that badly. They come at a cost, but you know what? I'm willing to pay that cost. It's kind of like hero bans for me. It's okay, sure. Season 9 felt in many ways on the outside and the way it was communicated as change for the sake of change, just because some new shiny change is what we need to do to keep the active live service game audience
Yeah,
invested.
I think there is
Otherwise, they're
something
not
to
going
be
to play
said for
anymore.
jingling your keys at the player base, right? Like, it's
Yes,
not a bad
but it
thing
had the
inherently.
bro.
Like,
You got yeah, but you gotta but it's got to be a pretty key. You know, like
yeah,
it has to be something. And season 9 was like I think a great example of change that just didn't do anything.
yeah.
It didn't matter. It was just as much negative as positive, and that's being favorable. And so like when I think about perks, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can live with that, sure, but let's not do another season 9 again, guys. Like let's not do that. Like in hindsight, it didn't really matter that much, but like if we're just going to keep changing things for the sake of changing just because that's what the live service audience wants, I'm not a marketer, I'm not a brilliant gamosphere psychologist, but like I'm going to be a critic when I see it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that hero-based shooters are like the most complicated genre out there in terms of the amount of stuff you can pack into a small like 3D space and the amount of people like interacting together. So I consider like any increase in learning curve and any increase in the complexity on the moment-to-moment gameplay to not be necessarily negative, but to have downsides as well as the upsides. And for
Perks
me,
is a great example of that.
yeah,
For that, right?
yeah.
Like there's
Perks,
bad things, there's good things. If it's well
I don't
executed,
know.
it's
I got
good.
killed across the map by a bounce nade on the first day, and I really haven't got over that, to be honest.
You're
Like,
right.
Yeah,
right.
she
Well,
just
not
hit
all
it on the
perks are
floor,
created alike.
trying to hit a tank. Then the second one just arced over and insta-killed me. Oh, great.
Yeah,
Why am I here? Why am I here in this
Yeah.
video game? Right?
Yeah.
It's
You want to
hard.
hear a funny story? Coaching Ana has become a lot more complicated because I have to sit there and say, I don't like. Oh no, never mind. It hit anyway. I don't like your. Oh, okay, never mind. It hit anyway. Right. That there's legitimate criticism for certain things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. There's quite a few perks that I'm just like really not happy with still. Like Soldier Sprint just makes them less interactive. Moira's longer fade just makes them less interactive. I'm like, Chase. Oh no, she's gone.
Spicy take
gone.
on that one. I'm always more defensive of certain things like that open up different options. I think it's a 50-50. The Moira was like there's less interaction, but it does open up Moira players to completely pivot angles from far left to far right.
Yeah.
So if you know how to use it, it's really good. Same thing with the Soldier Sprint one. You can just rotate infinitely easier. You're absolutely right that there's a major drawback, but there's a major upside. The Onanade is the example of the bad one where most of the time it gets value. And this is something that was obvious even from the first day. It's just accident. You don't ever intend for it to do anything. It just happens. And those are the type of perks that I really don't like.
Yeah, it's so frustrating, and it's so much extra complexity. And I'm like, does anyone? I like because I'm an old fart, right? I'm a curmudgeon at the best of times.
I'm looking much fartier than even I am.
I'm looking at the perks, and I'm like, does anyone even enjoy these anymore? I'm like picking my perks. It's like, oh god.
I mean, I like them.
Did anyone really get value from this? Like being able to pick something
I
silly.
had a discussion earlier where I keep catching myself going, I love this perk so much, I wish I'd add it in their base kit, and then I stop and I have an existential crisis for about 5 seconds, and I go, wait a second.
Every
I
time
wish they just added the base kit. Why do we?
Why does Bastion not have self-repair in his base kit?
But
why?
Right, but then at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Okay, fine. It's a little baby sense of progression. There's some skill choice in there. There's downsides. There's upsides. Like again, that's just where I have to kind of shut the purists down just a little bit. But
I don't hate perks, right? Like I don't hate them, but if I ever get killed across the map with a bounce nade, I'm just gonna actually turn off my computer instead of quitting the game. I wouldn't even bother. I just straight plug out the wall. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, and there's a legitimate criticism of like, you know, do we just add all the good things and power creep the crap out of everything? It's like, you know, I mean, obviously you and I would be like, no, there'd be if Bastion gets the no self damage on self nade, and then maybe, you know, to me it's just like certain perks, power creep becomes something that you just have to kind of play around with on a case by case basis. You have to take power out of the kit elsewhere.
I think Blizzard kind of trapped themselves by trying to make them adaptations and at the same time make them flashy in terms of the amount of power they gave people. Like if you have an adaptation,
they're just not side grades.
Yeah, if you have an adaptation to the map and you are on that map, you are no longer making a choice. Right, like that's a simple one. You have to adapt to the map because it's strictly better on the map. Therefore, it's not a choice.
And you can't change it either. You're one counter pick away from being irrelevant. I mean, I'm not gonna throw my boy Ultraviolet under the bus, but my guy DC'd in a pro match because he chose the wrong perk. You know?
Oh no!
Like,
why
it
do
was
they
so
let you
bad that he willingly.
They just not have memory of it, I guess.
I don't know. He willingly reset his perk charge to 0 to avoid choosing the wrong perk in a professional match. And so it's like, you know, there's just stuff like that where, and obviously like the balance of them. I think they're doing, I assume there's a lot coming in season 18 because season 17 was remarkably dry. But yeah.
Yeah, we somehow got to Pugs, right? Somehow.
Where were we?
I
Season
wanted to
9.
talk about season 9. Yeah, I wanted to talk about season 9. So essentially, what I'm saying is, first off, I don't think. So you said something about DPS there that I think is quite interesting. I was actually having a conversation with Greed the other day, known Genji Molder.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
it was a video of his that he was talking about the support's putting out the same ability to kill things as DPS and having better dueling potential than the DPS. And obviously, in parts, he's right. Like, Baptiste having Lamp and an extra health bar and DPS that's incredibly high. Like, that is just a better duelist than a DPS. But I think quite a lot of people forget the point of DPS, which is that they are more lethal when they're supported. That's kind of the point of them in the first place.
Yeah.
They have
I mean, I don't even necessarily agree with the first statement either necessarily. Like, it's really easy to get. I mean, I've had games where I literally actively went out of my way to DPS as much as possible, and I don't know that. I mean, it depends obviously on the DPS character, but I'm still convinced that I could have just done more with Echo or Cassidy or Pharah or Freya. Like, nothing will ever top a good Freya game in terms of raw pressure.
Yeah.
Like, nothing. There's not a single support character that can match that, you know. And like Sojourn's the same way. You know, Torb in certain situations. Like, I think that I think with support, what you're looking for is you're looking for like the level of consistency of pressure due to their kits, because their kits offer these get out of jail free cards where you generally can try to consistently apply pressure and don't. If you screw up or you get countered or you get matched, you don't die for it. Whereas DPS can feel a lot swingier. It could feel like I'm basically perma distraction, but never actually do anything.
And that's the point in my mind, right? Like, Blizzard are saying like DPS need a identity, right, with the DPS passive, and I'm there like they already have a damn identity. They're more lethal because they have higher peaks and valleys in their damage output. It's less predictable for the enemies. So they can't get out of the way of it. They can go into deeper angles. They have more access. All of these things makes them, not in terms of a 1v1, but in terms of just their damage output, more lethal to an average player. And we already have this, right? We already have an identity. I just don't understand why we'd need to create another when like the core of it is DPS kill things. That's what they do. They do it because you can't predict if Ashe is going to hit headshot on you or not. So you peek the Ashe for 1 second later and oops, I got headshotted. Right? That's how DPS do their lethality. That's the point of it.
People kind of dilute the argument a lot, which makes it really hard to talk about, because then you start talking about like, well, support's just easier, and then we have to talk about like the people that play support and like the population. It's just like a very convoluted discussion that needs to be treated with kid gloves, and everyone just wants a sledgehammer. It's like, oh, Kiriko wins every 1v1, BAP wins every 1v1. Yeah, on a 14-second cooldown. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like that's the problem. Like, you'd force those CDs. Not only is that character a lot less effective in their team utility, which is really what makes support unique, because they have split responsibility. But even just in the freaking raw 1v1, go into Seda, take away BAP shift, take away Suzu, and try to win the duel with these characters. They're not bad, but they're not as good as DPS. So if you force CDs with DPS, it's not just, that their team has lost that utility. You often put yourself in a better position to win that 1v1 in 5 seconds, right? Most 100%. DPS aren't as cooldown reliant, or their cooldown cycles are a little bit faster. Again, that's not always the case, but that usually is.
And even then, like,
this happens with Sombra, right? Sombra, sorry to interrupt, but like Sombra versus Kiri is a great example. Like, that is a really, really bad matchup for Sombra, but you get a Suzu, you force or with you hit a virus, you get Suzu, you live, you go back in 2 seconds later, 3 seconds later, and you win that 1v1. If you, at least you have the advantage in that 1v1, and that's like a really bad duel too. That's like a really bad example.
And the other side of it is like, if Kiriko and Sombra have a harmony orb each, the Sombra wins that fight over the 3 or 4 second period, because the Sombra has the peaks and valleys and the damage output in order to be able to force the Suzu. Wait for that health, then go back in, right? Like, they take the resource in a different way. That's kind of the point of it. And we're talking about the identity, and I'm like, they already have the damn identity. So
it's also, there's a weird dynamic with mobility as well. Like, I don't know how to put my finger on it, but like, for example, like bubble, just think bubble damage boost. Or bubble Valk Mercy Pocket or Nano Boost. For the way a lot of support is designed is where the mobility is kind of more lateral. It's not like instant. So like, I don't know like exactly if that's a conscious design choice or not, but like literally the only support I can think of that like can immediately get value out of Nano is like Lucio. Like
Yeah, they don't have
unless they're
access
being
to the
dove on,
space,
like they
right?
can't. Okay. I'm gonna say the what is the violence, right? That's the thing, right? Like supports aren't very violent,
Mm.
right? DPS are often very violent with how they,
Yeah, and
I
I
can't say
think I think
thrust,
you're
but
using
these
the
people will
term
get mad at me,
violence
but
when like it should be like lethality in
it's
terms
like
of
a main
lack of
tank.
telegraphing and a bit like the peaks and valleys in that output and other stuff like that instead of just because like
Yeah.
Roadhog's very violent because he's very lethal because he has
Yeah.
that peak and valley and people disrespect that peak and valley and therefore on an average rank or even at a high level he's gonna be more lethal to the enemy team. Like that's my wording. Yeah.
I
So
just completely forgot to update my headline.
you
Hang
okay?
on. DPS identity. Okay. And season 9.
So I was going to move on to season 9 proper
Yeah,
here
sure.
and just say, okay, so first off, what I've realized in my Pugs, because I do Pugs on 200 HP, no DPS passive, basically Overwatch 1 balance in terms of Pugs, 7H
Yeah.
SKW base, and then built on hero reworks on top of it, right? So what I've noticed is that we can't change the hitboxes. There's a little bit of an adjustment you can do. The model size have been changed to account for it a little bit. After a week, the game is not more lethal because the hitbox size for all the projectiles are bigger, right? Like they're bigger, so the damage coming into you becomes more consistent in your ability to predict its output, right? Like if hands
You just adjust to people are way better at cover, kind of a thing. They just adjust quickly.
yeah, so that original health increase we did, right? The original health increase to 250. If that logic was to make the game not be like more lethal because we increased the size, I don't think that got bore out properly. It's short, like when you first come into the game and you don't know what's going
Wait,
on.
as in DPS is more lethal because season 9 increased hitboxes and the bullets.
I think that it's about the same if you increase the hitboxes and don't change anything in terms of the actual lethality on people because they are able to predict the DPS patterns a lot more.
Maybe. I mean, I think that's relying off of people adjusting, which is I think fairly reasonable. I don't know.
It's difficult because like
I'm not gonna
it's very
disagree with
rare
you.
that you get people trying both modes in order to test it, and even then if they do try my mode it's reliant on well, give it a week, right? Like see how you adapt to the new hitbox sizes and how fast things kill you and other things like that. So it's an interesting like hard argument to make that. So
I'm getting flashbacks to the 6v6 test where everyone's like, oh, Spilo bad faith tested it by going back to post-season 9 health pools. And turns out 6v6
man.
goes live with post-season 9 health pools. So frick you guys. My testing's better. You guys suck.
Your testing's
Dude,
better. It's not like there's a dev in your chat every other day listening to what you say.
I wasn't saying it was better or worse. I just knew. I didn't have any insider information. I'm just like, there's no way they're going to revert season 9 and go 67. It's not going to happen. I was like, yeah, dude, they're just morons, man. Like, morons.
Yeah, meanwhile,
I would have written an apology from every YouTube comment for that. But, oh well.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm there like, just get a dev from 7H SKW on a call and ask them why they made the changes.
And
see
I
what
asked
it
them
makes
too.
sense on them, right?
I asked them too. Like I really like I was like, hey, you guys, could consider like reverting the health pools here if you guys are worried about sustain. So it's not like I was like bad faith pulling strings to make sure it was happening my way, but whatever, man.
Yeah. So the actual argument that I was trying to make all this time, 250 health pools, 30% DPS passive, increases the amount of time before you re-peak if you're a DPS, because you have a longer time until you are given the stuff, and your stuff you have is bigger, right? Exactly the same argument as the passivity due to cooldowns. I think the game is a lot more passive in comparison, a lot more reactive, and a lot more opportunistic at the best time instead of continuously doing stuff due to these two changes.
So you want this game to become Marvel Rivals? I'm just
right.
I can have it.
Okay.
You're saying damage is happens a lot more, and it takes you longer to get back to your threshold that you were before, so there's more downtime, kind of a thing.
I'll give the analogy, probably easier. Like if I'm Soldier, right? I'm Soldier, I run off on a 90-degree angle from the rest of the team, right?
Yeah.
I go over there. Before, I would take a Harmony Orb and I would start doing work immediately, right? I'd start working on the backline, I'd start harassing people. Now, if I take a Harmony Orb and I get chipped down to 100 health, I'm going to be inactive for 4 more seconds than I
Half a
was
second,
previously.
or whatever.
It's going to be significantly
4 more seconds.
Yeah, you think about the amount
Also,
of health, like 30 health per second, 200 health pools.
yeah, but you're
stop
using
peaking
that
at
health,
100, yeah?
but you're using that extra 50 health for more uptime for that
Yes.
quarter of a second that
Yes.
you get peak. You kind of see what I'm
100%.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
because like I think in theory, I mean, I don't know the stats. Like, but if the intention was to decrease time to kill, you have more downtime after your initial cycle. But in theory, your initial cycle
Yep.
should be longer.
Yep.
I don't
That's
know
it.
if that's carried through.
He's there.
But
He's there. But we got him. Yes.
Okay.
That's the
so
point.
the
Yeah.
initial cycle on paper should be longer if it's done intentionally.
It is
but
longer,
the downtime
yes.
is slightly longer.
The downtime until the re-peak the next time is longer.
Yes,
So
correct.
what
I
is
agree.
the incentive
Ignoring
on
the
you if you've
let's
only
take
got
a
one
second.
go, right? You've only got one go, right? You're a soldier on an angle, right? Previously, I could get myself healed back up and go again, right? I've got one now. What do? I have to perfectly time it for the time that is going to be most effective in terms of doing stuff to the enemy backline. I am
because the window for that first peak is wider. That's the problem. In 6v6 or 66, oh my gosh. In preseason 9, the window for the first peak was much tighter when you started. If you have a longer window to open, you might be off by half of a second, but because you have 50 more HP, you still got it close enough. I agree with you that like there is a much more. If you get it entirely wrong, you're screwed. Not screwed, but you're in a worse spot. But there's more. You're more able to get it off by half of a second. There's more initial leeway in that initial peak. I mean, we're really getting in the weeds here, but yeah, that's the way I see it.
I don't think it's getting too far into the weeds. I think this is like the moment-to-moment feel of the gameplay, right? Like this is very core to how playing DPS feels in general.
Yeah.
If you're 5 or like 10% more inclined to maybe like make sure it's the exact correct time or make sure I get good value on this peak instead of like say, oh well, I can re-peak again or another time in a couple of seconds, then like it massively changes your gameplay experience. Right now on Soldier, my experience playing the 2 modes side by side, and I don't know how much your chat's going to be able to say yes or no to this because like I don't think there's many people out there that are currently playing the 2 modes side by side. If I take an angle on Soldier on 200 health pools, I have so much more liberty to start being active whenever I want to be active. I don't need to think too much about it.
Do you have the heal passive? Do you have the heal passive in your game mode? The passive heal?
we have the passive heal. I think it's pretty much universally positive. Yeah, just no DPS passive 200 health pools.
So I mean, what matters more? 50 more health, which isn't free to be. Well, actually, it is free in your mode because the hitboxes are easier, so the damage comes in. Or the 30% DPS passive healing you 30% slower to back to full. I mean, technically 50 is 25% of your health, right?
Yeah, it's
no, 20%. Sorry, 20%. But like it. I don't know, man. Like that. This seems like really splitting hairs here. The way that I would look at it is that's like this is a serious conversation when you assume that both pre and post season 9 would have the heal passive. Then there's a real argument. What matters more, the 50x, the raw health, and we're talking about 250 here. We're not even factoring in 225, who probably suffer a lot more from this.
Yeah.
I think the real question is, like I said, because if you talk about the heal passive post season 9, that's by far been the best thing for uptime for any character that takes an angle or flank. You are have so much more uptime because your uptime is reliant off of healing prior to this heal passive, right? After season 9, your uptime is completely reliant off of just.
Do you have an inside source on why it changed to 6 seconds? I can't work it out.
I have no freaking idea. I gave them grief about it, and I don't like my answer. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, no problem.
So no, I trust that they'll be receptive, and I would not be shocked to see it reverted. But it makes absolutely no sense. It's goofy. It's goofy. I don't get it. So yeah, it's just goofy is my answer there. So you're welcome.
Yeah.
I think maybe adjacent here. I don't want to get totally off topic here.
Okay.
But I think the biggest positive this season 9 HP change was more flexibility with health pools. I think because I think 225, 250, 275 gave a lot of flexibility for balancing that they didn't otherwise have without like really like it just the bigger the number, the more knobs you can tweak that are accurately like breakpoints. But
Yeah.
I know that that's not like a nuanced list discussion, but yeah.
No. Personally, for me, I'd rather they change something about the kit that makes the viability different on 200 rather than like going to the bits. I definitely think Widow, like
Yeah.
even in our mode, Widow 175, right? Very simple. But the actual gaps between them are smaller when you increase the health pool. So 225 is less of a percentage than 175. So there's a lot of argument. Like it is a bit more flexibility. Yeah, I agree with that there. Yeah, no, 100%.
But I want to go back to what you're saying because like that's kind of my statement. As I think that's like, assuming both have heal passive, I don't know if there's a serious difference between 20% more health versus 30% slower healing. Not enough because even the 20, I don't know if there's a significant gap that I have seen. I think it's more interesting for tanks because those are by default more reliant off of sustain for uptime than DPS.
Okay, so for me personally, and I'm just gonna leave it here. It is completely night and day in terms of the way it feels while you're playing DPS on angles. I
Sure.
feel like that I am moving through mud in 250, 30% DPS passive. Like it feels so slow compared to the amount of like zipping around your health bar can do on the lower. Anyway, I want to talk to you about a little bit more about Mercy, and then comparison to Anna, if you got time.
Sure.
Obviously, I said before we had a whole discussion. Mercy's End shafted by season 9 because they haven't got like significant enough buffs. But I think we're kind of like losing out on the reason for it, or losing out on the actual problem here. I think that triage healing, or fast healing, or reactive healing has been really, really, really nerfed in comparison to things like Anna's healing.
Yes, the triage healing nerf was not because they're against burst healing completely, but because of how visibly obvious that burst healing was in terms of how abusable it was. When we talk about, like, if you've ever seen, like, rage bait burst healing clips, they almost always involve armor packs, nade, Suzu, stuff like that, which is really annoying. The problem with triage, it was on demand. Never on cooldown, no resources invested, just hold left click, and that unkillable Smurf Sojourn is now even more unkillable.
Yeah,
I'm not against the idea of the concept, but the problem goes back to Mercy's base kit, which there are no resources. It's just everything's available all the time.
Yeah,
That's the problem with
100%.
triage healing and our current implementation.
I think they definitely were trying to specifically hit Mercy and her ability to always keep someone in an angle permanently. Like, I agree with that. I guess the question is, what does Mercy do instead of that, right? Instead of just maybe like an extra 20% of the time she was holding the heal beam down, now she's holding the damage beam down for the entire time they're peaking.
Oh yeah, I don't disagree.
Right?
I think damage boost is just as big of a problem. I think that you'd have to introduce some sort of resource management. You absolutely need to expand her kit in terms of what she can and can't do, either leaning more into the ability to give over health, movement speed, cooldown reduction. I mean, there's just there's an endless list of ideas that we've spitballed around. Even more offensive pressure, offensive potential. So there's an opportunity cost to where you have to decide about whether, like, this is the problem. Like with supports, there's always a discussion. Every single session that I do with support is largely a discussion of the opportunity cost about defensive measures versus offensive measures. Mercy does not have that choice because damage boost versus healing is almost always a strictly binary decision. There is no nuance to it. Basically full, damage boost. Not full, heal. That's it.
That's very interesting,
right?
right?
Oh, it depends on.
Because I feel like that wasn't true in the past. I have specifically.
I think it always was.
No, I feel like
do think it
specifically in
always was.
2018 kind of like era previously. It's not in the high rank. Obviously, in the high rank, people are going to hit their shots. They're going to be consistent. So you always damage boost them as they're active. That's pretty obvious.
I will say one thing, though.
Yeah?
Finish your thought. Sorry.
No, I think there's a very good argument to be made that previously, on the lower health pool throughout the DPS passive, the amount of offensive pressure Mercy could put out with her healing beam just by holding someone there, sometimes while they were active, was higher than their damage boost.
Two changes, though. Because tanks. You could actually heal tanks. You're thinking post season 9, which DPS passive plus larger health pools, and 66, which is just smaller health pools for tanks in general. So right now, Mercy's tank healing is almost exclusively reserved in between pressure cycles. The problem is not Mercy's design. That has always been the problem with Mercy's design. The problem is that the more that you conflate survivability through heal passive, offensive pressure, or not mid-fight sustain, essentially, right? Or just tanks using their health pools for survivability, the harder that Mercy falls off in terms of her utility. You look at something like Kiriko, when she was initially released, I don't know if you saw the 2022 Overwatch League Grand Finals, every freaking Kiriko player was standing behind their Winston and heal botting the tank, building a broken amount of ult charge from healing, and continuing down main. The devs go, wait a second, that's not what we intended. I mean, I freaking released a guide like 1 day or 2 days after Kiriko, and that is not how I coached people to play Kiriko. Turns out you could break the system. Same thing they could do with Junker Queen Shout, right?
The numbers were too low.
Turns out that the devs designed, the Kiriko as designed was exactly what I said for people to do, right? And so they go, okay, this is not what we intended. Let's nerf the ult. Let's nerf the healing. Let's nerf the ult charge. And so when Kiriko got that sustain value, like 6v6 Mercy nerfed, she had something to do. She had tools, utility, mobility, wall climb, teleport, damage, dueling potential to express into. Now, whether that's healthy or not, it's a different story. But she had that outlet where, I can do this instead. Mercy doesn't have that. So I agree. Mercy in 66
trapped into the rival situation where you get so much value out of ult that you have to stand on main and use the ult.
Basically. So when you take away pre-season 9 66 Mercy healing on tank, that's actually kind of somewhat useful, and maybe you're actually even motivated to move more and say, okay, you're squishy, you die instantly, your sustain on tank is meaningless, and you have no other options. Good luck. What do you think you're going to see Mercy do, right? That is where your choice is significantly worse, because there just isn't any impact to be had from AFK healing a tank all the time. It's not that it's always bad, but it's just not near as useful as it used to be.
From me, I don't think there's any impact to be had from AFK healing a DPS either, for the most part.
I agree. It's just when I mean by that, I mean like damage boost or pocketing or whatever. I'm saying,
but specifically the heal beam's the thing that's been targeted in my mind, right? AFK healing a DPS previously would put out offensive pressure. AFK healing a DPS now doesn't really make the DPS do that much more.
Yes, but that's again because of season 9, where you have to consider that just generally off of raw numbers alone, maybe not so much with Mercy Beam, but I technically heal less than I damage, just because of now that doesn't apply to damage boost specifically, but it is a lot less rewarding to heal a 30% nerf target when they should probably just walk behind the wall, shake off the boost, and passive heal, or I'll heal the between cycles. I mean, this is a real question with Ana, where it's not that you don't prioritize healing, it's that you objectively do less healing than you do damage, and anything that's tickled by a DPS now. So even from a numbers game, there's like a lot less motivation. So again, I think we keep coming back to season 9 and heal passive and health pools, because I think Mercy's design has just been exposed as lacking the ability to do other things because of those changes.
Of course,
if that makes sense.
They've taken
in
away
the same way of
one of the aspects.
It's like Diva. Right, it's like Diva in 5v5, right? Diva in 5v5, she wasn't unhealthy in 66. I mean, she was really dominant. I mean, I kind of like Diva in 66, but you take her identity away in 66, she doesn't have anything anymore in 5v5. I mean, she can still function kind of, sort of, but her utility just isn't there.
So you said about Kiriko, and I think that's an interesting little segue. Blizzard have, for some reason, in my mind, never known how to balance reactive or reliable healing resources through the entirety of Overwatch. It started with Mercy and with Lucio, and then you'll find that every single release, basically what happens is that they release with way too many numbers, and then they naturally get Brownie and Motion back to the place they should be based on how reliable they are. Like, what makes Mercy's healing beam good in terms of, like, we're going to pick to be healed by Mercy versus Ana? What makes Mercy's healing beam good?
I mean, if we're talking about anything above like a bronze, silver, gold, platinum in terms of reliability, right? Like that's the only thing that it brings to the table is like the consistency for lower rank players that can't aim. I guess that you could also say that Mercy can actually focus on her own survival. She can multitask,
Yep.
right? So you can
Yep.
you can move, especially with the grace period, and you can kind of with Ana, it's every decision is an opportunity cost essentially. Now Mercy, you still have to multitask, but the multitasking, let's be honest, is holding left click while doing whatever.
And you've got
That's not
complete
exactly
freedom to look
multitasking.
around, right? You've got complete
Right.
awareness of where you need to be. You're always going to get there faster, and you're always going to be more reliable at getting there because you have so much brain room to get there.
This is why skill floor characters are so freaking dangerous, because like they're a victim of their own ease.
Yeah, but this is the thing that made Mercy unique, right? The ability to beam through bubbles, the ability to swap instantly, the fact that it's telegraphed to the person being healed that they are being healed means they can proactively use that healing. The fact that DPS generally understand that Mercy's pocket them.
Right?
Yeah.
I had a discussion in my Twitch chat earlier when we were doing some hot takes discussion about like skill expression with healing, right? And how I was saying how it's like it's really difficult as a developer to come up with a new way to heal. There's only so many ways you can reinvent the wheel. And so there's some discussion about like, does every healer need to be mechanically expressive when they heal? I'd say no, but they need some form of skill expression with the heal, whether it's resource management, the pathetic attempt that was Moira, or something, right? So like, as you said, Mercy's unique identity, the ability to heal through this or heal through that. Yeah, sure. We don't need Mercy to aim to heal, but there has to be some sort of opportunity cost or risk involved in what you're doing. You know, like there has to be like something, and that just isn't there right now.
Yeah. So
because it's either not rewarding enough or it's not punishing enough.
Yeah. So when I said triage healing, my argument is that the reliable healing modes, Harmony Orb, Brig Packs, Mercy Beam, Kiriko's Papers in a way, right? Because they're always going to lock on and more or less get to the target. The ones that are better at healing off an angle, and the more forgiving ones, the things that can go through stuff and always get to the target, they have been disproportionately harmed by the DPS passive. And the reason for that
Weaver
is...
as well.
Yeah, 100%. And the reason for that is pretty serious. It's the fact that their bonus on top of the other healers was reaction time. Right, they got to there in like 0.2 of a second, and the other healers got to there in 1 second. And sure, like this evened out the higher rank. At the higher rank, Anna's gonna get there in like 0.3 to 0.4 on average of a second in order to get that healing in. But even then, she's got like time between her ticks, so she might fire a bolt,
you're
right?
saying that. Sorry, but I'm trying to understand. You're saying that like the characters that are reliant off of snap quickly sustaining you during a period of pressure suffered from the DPS passive. Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. But that's always such a dangerous path though, because it's like I think it's a very clear design philosophy that they don't want you powering through.
Yes,
I mean,
however,
I know there's a nuance. Like again, you're not supposed to be able to survive that. You're supposed to disengage.
They actually just put a 25 healing bonus on it. Right, literally, that 25 healing bonus was to make up for the fact that this snap attention onto that target was less impactful the moment you put the DPS passive in. So keeping that person in the angle or being able to peel for them was less reliable.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a nuanced discussion, right?
Yeah.
Like, not everything needs a heal over time. I think burst heal is occasionally useful, but it's obviously something that you have to be very careful with, right?
Yeah.
I think having a burst heal being a part of a character's unique identity is not a bad thing, just when it's cautious, and usually when we see people complaining about burst healing, it's usually a combination of multiple supports utilities. It's very rarely any one.
Yeah. So the thing is, basically the problem is that this like Mercy heals in 0.2 of a second versus Ana heals in 1 of a second. This never got scaled in the same way that the lack of healing got scaled. So Mercy's actually lost out a significant amount of their impulse of healing the moment they get to the target, whereas they like the other characters catch up in the same way. So like, sure, Mercy got that.
It's because here's what it is. Again, it's the same thing. It's because the fact that Mercy as a character doesn't have other means of pressure outlet. She doesn't have a way of, okay, well then this is less effective. Like if you look at it from an honest perspective, right? Like your healing is impacted just as much. Frick, your nano boost heal is affected by the DPS passive, right? There's your burst healing being affected, right? But it doesn't matter as much because you still have other ways of expressing value, and all it does is it changes your hierarchy of what decision I should be making in what moment more. Mercy doesn't have that outside of damage boost.
Yeah,
you kind of see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, 100%. And
so
like we can talk about whether it's problematic to have that instant heal. I think that might be in many ways, but like we certainly didn't think the instant heal from went from Harmony Orb was problematic, I don't think. And that's been targeted in exactly the same way. If you look at, right, let's
Oh
say...
yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, I'm not advocating for
Yeah,
DPS passive. What I'm saying is that I think that more of your concerns with this are more to do with are equally DPS passive and Mercy just sucking in terms of what she does. Like even the fact that she can heal through bubble, like because her healing is so easy, you really can't do things like triage. That's my point.
yeah.
Like you really can't give that to her without breaking the game in some way, shape, or form because it's always accessible. It's like if Ana could look at a tank and nade them without ever missing. You know, it's like that would be broken. It's the same. I had a discussion earlier. One of the hot takes and the Reddit was that like I didn't agree with it necessarily, but there was some good points about how like Life Weaver just feels like you just can't ever miss a heal. So it's really dangerous when it comes to sustain numbers. I mean, you look at BAP, right? Like BAP is being played a lot in higher levels right now, partly due to some of the meta shifts with Freya and Life Weaver, but also because he got some pretty crazy healing creep. Why are we not seeing it? Because it's on directs. You have to hit your direct heal to get the value from the heal. And so you're just not seeing it as much. And Mercy just doesn't have that. There's no difference between what a low rank Mercy does with her healing or healing resource and a higher rank Mercy. It's exact same. The skill expression is through other parts of her kit, and there just aren't enough to compensate.
It's hard, man. It's hard. Like, I don't know. Qualitatively, healing on Mercy currently feels like you are going through tar. Previously, in my opinion, you could climb to GM with only heal beam at one point in time. It might have been really hard, it might have been really awkward to do, but you could theoretically do it. Now, I don't think there's even a chance in hell of doing that. And I think that was the identity of the character. I think if quick triage healing was the thing. And if we'd taken away quick triage healing in proportion, then sure, like that might have been problematic. Always having a Hanzo on full health that's smurfing, right? Like just destroying your entire team. Like that's problematic. But realistically, what else do they have? They don't have anything else, and that was the identity. That was what I liked in the character.
That's my point, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm open to the idea of trying triage as a healing ability on a resource, right?
Yeah.
Like where you have to spend that budget. I'm even a bigger fan of using that as a resource that is shared with both your offensive and defensive output. So you have to decide what makes the most sense. It's like a nade decision, right? Do I spend my triage to heal boost up to 75 healing per second for 2 seconds, or do I spend that to boost up I'm not a big damage boost guy, but like a movement speed increase, or you know, like there just aren't enough knobs with Mercy that have different choices. And again, I'm not a fan of the DPS passive, right? Like I think that's pretty clear, but I just think things like the DPS passive always hit not always, but usually hit the characters that don't have a whole lot else going for them. You're going to see this with the like Malga Roadhog, right? Like I know the tanks have a pared down version of the DPS passive, but if I'm playing Diva, Sigma, whatever, whatever, okay, your mileage may vary, but you're going to suffer if you're a Malga Roadhog, right? You know, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big sweeping changes, isn't it? Right? Big sweeping changes, things get left behind. There's no reason why Harmony Orb doesn't currently do like 45 healing per second. Not realistically. I don't think that would break the game, but it would keep Zen more or less in proportion to the other characters when everything's changed. And it's difficult because increasing the numbers pushes them closer to the level of the throughput healers or Ana or Baptiste or whatever those. It pushes them closer together, and the closer these get together, the more similar their use case is, the more they want to be on the tank at the right time instead of being on a DPS keeping them up at the right time. And it just kind of like flattens out the types of healing resource in the game in my mind. Which is sad and boring, and I don't like. I'm a variety guy, right? I want the most amount of interesting healing resources to be in the game as possible, because I think the healing resources are the fun bit of the game. I think the way that you use that is the texture.
I guess. I don't see it as really flattening out. When I complain about the DPS passive, I know everyone loves to talk about how like unimpactful Harmony Orb is, but it's still proportional. Everything's percentage based. It doesn't matter. Like Harmony Orb's not disproportionately affected by it more than any other healing resource. It's just funny because smaller number got smaller.
I don't know. I don't think that's true. I think Harmony Orb was affected more because the Harmony Orb power was being there 1 second before Ana starts healing. That was the power, and that hasn't been scaled. So during that time, essentially, Zen's doing significantly less healing than they were before. The actual head start they get on Ana in terms of that healing gets lower. Like, you look at the like.
So you're saying Zenyatta is way more proactive with their healing, so that they have to deal with the DPS passive immediately.
Yeah.
Not an Ana dealing with it with the tank that ducked behind corner. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I would also say that like, if you keep an orb on a target, you're more likely to catch. Like, let's put it this way: if I orbit Tracer and she gets a DPS passive, yes, the initial burst of healing suffers, but then I'm more likely to have to be able to continue to sustain that Tracer after the passive has gone off as I've resumed my attention elsewhere, than an Ana who's going to burst focus the Ryan and then turn away and ignore him, and then that's healing is done, the passive is kicking in. You kind of see what I'm saying? I know what you're saying, the initial burst is there, but later in that trade, as they re-engage, the Harmony Orb's still working, the Ana's not. I mean, we're, again, really getting into the weeds here.
No, I think it's important to the feeling of how the game feels, right? I think this is very hard to put your finger on, right? You can play pre-season 9 and post-season 9, and nobody will ever say this is a problem. Nobody will even have the words to say this is a problem. They won't have the language.
Yeah.
But, like, if nobody's going to have the discussion, it has to be me and you or somebody else that's in the coaching sphere.
I can't be anybody else right now.
Yeah, at least we have the language to talk about it, right? Like, there's just so many.
So you're just saying we're just so much smarter. You know, the PhD is an Overwatch.
No, I'm saying.
Do you remember Egoist Cat? Do you remember Egoist Cat?
Yeah.
Did you ever know Egoist Cat?
Yeah, I did.
Little Egoist Cat.
Anyway,
sorry.
It's difficult, right? You always cry about getting like 100 hero reworks per week, right? And the reason why that's such a problem isn't because you're getting 100 hero reworks necessarily. It's because in order to talk to that person about the hero reworks, you've got to do an hour of work in order to get them on the same page as you, right? Like, it's so hard to have that discussion.
It's been my job for way too long. You know what I'm saying? So like, of course.
Yeah. So I may as well throw a couple of numbers at you. Mercy needs 1.5 more healing per second in order to have the same healing as she did before. So that's my complaint. I'm very upset about it.
All right, as director of Overwatch 2, I'll sign off.
Yeah,
okay,
so,
1.5 second, good.
Right, 120 is the number of healing that Ana passed Mercy before. Passed Mercy previously, and now it's 129. Very upset about that. Very concerned. Right, so that honestly, extra 9.
I feel for you.
I actually think, like, not even kidding. The problem with me is that during this period where Mercy is healing and Ana isn't healing, Mercy's doing 6% less of their healing up to this level than they were previously. That's the numbers I've worked out. Like, 6% less sounds like nothing, but it is one of those. That's the bonus she got from being there first, right? That's the bonus. And if nobody else is going to cry for the bonus, it's going to be me, right? Like, because I'm a stupid idiot that's going to, like, math out numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Good for you.
Right, I successfully made Spilo's eyes glaze over. Is that success?
No, see, this is why I have hair in front of my eyes, so I can just close my eyes, pretend I'm still paying attention.
Yeah, you got Subway Surfers running on in the background, right?
Yep. Next level technology.
I am done with stuff. Anything else you want to talk about?
That was it?
That was it, yeah.
That was like colonoscopy uncomfortable, not even kidney stone level. I was expecting so much worse.
Oh, I could do much worse to you.
You ever have your blood drawn by a phlebotomist that has no idea what they're doing? That sucks.
That is not something I can say I've had.
Okay,
I've actually never had a blood test. I don't know. Should I have a blood test
especially if
at
it's
some
like
point?
needles? You probably you're getting to the age here, you know, as you're approaching 40, where you should probably get your blood work done once every couple years just to give a general check, you know. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else that I would want to rant to you about? No, I don't really think so. Okay, I did get a message the other day. One of my Team Spilo dudes, one of my buddies, was like, you should look at like Rivals apparently is an unrest. You should comment on it. I ended up turning it down because I'm like, I don't know what that means.
What they mean. I'll tell you what they mean. They mean Rivals has exactly the same problems it has on launched, and people are just slowly starting to realize that those problems are there.
So nothing new. Okay, I was gonna say I don't want to come across as like kicking a dog while it's down, so I'm not gonna do anything on it. But I was curious because I'm not really invested in it. So is it just like heal bot, 12-second support ults, map suck?
They got flyer problems. The new map is a bit
flyer problems. Wait, you're telling me that fulfilling the flying fantasy of characters that can infinitely fly isn't good?
Surely not.
What?
No.
But
Iron Fist can go in the air. No.
Shut up! Sit down. You're wrong. Overwatch chill dead game.
Yeah, they're a little bit
Who would've
into
thought?
triple support at the moment because they've realized that supports can put out damage.
No,
That's the most
triple
recent.
support?
Um,
No way.
It wasn't working before
can't
because all
believe
the
that.
supports thought they had to heal, but now they're slowly realizing that supports actually damage as well. I know it's crazy revelations, isn't it, for the most part? But yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Okay,
That's
so
crazy. Well,
this is my official time to shield to you because you have not played in my
is this your
Pugs.
Pugs?
You have not played in my Pugs.
this your
Okay, so
Pugs?
I have a lovely German gent called Didact that does very detailed patch
this
notes
freaking
every
Didact
single
is
damn
in my
week.
Twitch chat.
He makes multiple page long patch notes. He's recently put it into game. Oh, he does a load of work. We have Venture Tank that flows really well. It's really good.
Okay.
We have Life Weaver with 2 petals, 2 dashes, and his life grip refunds to 10 seconds if you're over 75% HP when he does it. Really good, really nice flow, lovely stuff. What else do we have? Obviously support Sombra, you know all about that. That's flowing really nice. We got that working perfectly.
May tank, right?
May Tank, we removed May Tank due to popular hatred of the wall. I don't think May Tank was the problem. I think people just didn't want to play with the wall as often. We have reworked Hazard recently. Hazard has a, instead of the wall, he has a spike shield bubble. So essentially another off-tank ability that when they target it reflects damage back to the person that targets them and heals Hazard for a bit. So he's got the healing spikes and he got a healing spike bubble at the same time.
All right.
Basically, we're moving everything around off-tank, main tank.
Screw the cops, man. I don't know what day, but I will do it on stream next week.
Okay. Love you.
No, wait, frick. I'm not streaming next week. Okay, week after next. No I'm not streaming next week. I will do the week after.
Okay.
What day would work better? I will schedule it. Saturday might be weird with WCS. We'll go ahead.
So we currently do Wednesday and Sunday, but I can throw anything on for you at any point.
Can you do it on Tuesday, Thursday? Because those are my content
So
days.
Thursday is normally my don't work day. Tuesday would be best if you do Tuesday.
Tuesday will be best. Let's do Tuesday after next. I will write it down. And
Widow has a glint on the scope. Hanzo has been reworked to have a mark when he hits people, and then he does twice the amount of damage after he's got that mark on them. So things like that. Trying to play around with these things, right? Cool. Trying to make them work. Trying to keep the insta-kill, but like interesting ways. And I want a bigger player base to play it. But remember, post-season 9 health pools, post-season 9 hitboxes, pre-season 9 health pools. You might be in an island.
I know what I'm getting into.
Before you adjust.
It's fine. That's fine. That's fine. It's no problem. Yeah, you don't need it. Didac, you don't need to change anything. I'm not going to go out there and make like a 7-hour video describing how it's fundamentally flawed. I'm just going to play and have a good time.
I swear, Didac does about like 6 hours of work per week on this. It's a crazy amount of work. And that's just for our group of idiots on the Discord server to enjoy themselves with pre-season 9 footballs.
Yeah. Realth, you got YouTube 1, and really it's all about YouTube 2 with you, I've learned.
Yeah.
Which is, how do you even spell that? Is it with 1 F, 2 Fs, 3 Fs?
RELF on the second one because nobody could pronounce my name. So I thought making it really obvious for the people that can't speak would be good.
Realth.
So, Realth.
And Realth. Ha.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay, good enough. Well, mate, I appreciate your time. I'm glad we scheduled this out. I'll see you in 2 weeks then. Frick my chungus life.
That sounds wonderful. Love you very much. Thank you, Spilo's chat, for having me.
Too, man.
Hope you haven't fell asleep too much. Have a
no,
wonderful
it was good.
evening.
It was perfect. You too, mate. Cheers.
Good night. That's the map. Sup, lads? So first off, thank you, Reactionary, for the bits. I really appreciate it. Obviously, I try not... What do you mean, ask the map? Take the shirt off? No pink shirt? No pink shirt. How are you guys? How are you doing? Catching up on our discussion. So Zenzo sent a paragraph to me in the middle of that. I was struggling. The answer is Spilo will not take the bait no matter what I do. He will not take the bait on the hero pools. The health pools. Which is very interesting. I actually think that quite a lot of people just have not tried this. And it's really, really difficult, right? He loves fences too much? I don't think he necessarily loves fences too much. Are you streaming longer? No, I'm just going to talk to chat for a little bit and head off. Why is that? Spilo turned off stream and was like, oh, I've got nothing to talk about. See if I can talk to Realth again. Yeah, Spilo's never going to take the bait on health pools. I will be entering panic mode until in 2 weeks. Nice. Are you streaming longer? I was just gonna say hi and bye to everyone in chat. I wasn't gonna do anything in particular. I assume you were thinking of dropping the bomb. I'll be on for at least 10 minutes is the answer. I have a lot of chat to read through, to say the least, in order to think that people wrote massive comments and I haven't responded to them. Really sad. I think a part of this argument isn't the lower cooldown, but the ability of the cooldowns to do multiple things. More result can be damage or healing. The example with Lamp giving a damage boost was the relevant bit, in my opinion. Even if you lower the cooldown, if it only does immortality, it will only be used defensively unless you go to the extreme. I'll put this in Spilo chat, but hoping you see it. Yeah, Soren. Thank you. Appreciate it. I think that realistically, lowering the cooldown makes it a lot easier to use aggressively. So at the same time, you can actually use it more aggressively, and I think people will. But I think that's on average in terms of the long term. He misses Ralph wants to talk to him more, certainly, yeah. I paid for 1.5 to ask you to ask Spilo. We'll ask him. We'll do Spilo's next favorite map on. We'll do Spilo's favorite map on Pugs Day. Okay. You see, is there anything else here that's interesting? See, I didn't have that much prepared. It only took me like 10 minutes to get these together. He bit the bullet? How does Spilo... Okay, right, guys. How does Spilo bite the entire bullet on movement, right? The entire... He chewed on the bullet. He was like, oh, bullets. I love bullets. Oh, this is really yummy on the cooldowns. And then I do the exact same argument. No change whatsoever, but just with Mercy movement. And he's like, hey, that's aggressive. What are you... How does that happen? Right? How does he not take the bait there? Ow. I think your argument with Mercy was not very succinct. Yeah, it's a very hard argument to put across. Most of it is feeling. Kind of way out on tangent with how you explained it? Yeah, sure. In terms of Guardian Angel, I don't think I was very weird with Guardian Angel. In terms of the healing, I think that was not very succinct. But I mean, I'm only a human, so. 1.5 hours of good conversation? Yeah. I feel like we solved a lot of things. What if Mercy healed more per enemy that you can see her and the movement with nerf, but on a 2-second cooldown? I think the nerf movement and the lower cooldown is pretty much necessary for Mercy to be interesting to me in any way from now on. I don't think I can enjoy Mercy with the longer cooldown and the better movement. I don't think it's interesting in any way. Like, you look at this movement right here, right? Look at Neandra, right? Just constantly flitting left and right. There's a super jump, right? Able to get out? Wow, that's crazy. You're not able to do that on live, right? And that's just like a little bit of movement. Just like I watched that for 3 seconds and I see something cool happening that can't happen on live, right? It's just that simple. It's really that simple. I think it's really difficult. Make it so jump boost is slow when it's past 180 degrees. That would work, yeah, that would work. You can do it without completely moving it back. I agree with your argument that movement on Mercy should be skill based. I don't know about the other stuff. That's the power that random will give me. Yeah, that's the force behind my stuff. That movement puts a small bonus per enemy that sees her. I don't necessarily know. I kind of get what you're trying to do with the bonus per enemy that sees her, because essentially it's going to allow Mercy to walk in front, like not hide behind a corner. I guess that's what you're trying for. But yeah, 10, you missed everything. Good job. Have you considered I'm required to one-click Mercy for my regular dose of dopamine, which might be effective if she had more movement options? Well, you'll be able to one-clip a bad Mercy, and then the movement will scale as the rank increases, so if you're in a high rank, the Mercy will be able to dodge. Spamming fly is different than having more movement options, and I think Spilo didn't understand that. I genuinely think Mercy, Spilo just hasn't played Mercy very much. Just because you fly every second doesn't mean you know how to use it effectively? Yeah. The fact that Spilo didn't get the, I'm going to be in the skybox on a corner above the person, right? That bit, like, that's the bit that I just, like, kind of miffed about. He didn't get that bit, and I'm like, how much Mercy coaching did you do back in the day, right? Like, how much time? I know Mercy isn't, like, crazy. I accidentally pinned that. Unpin. How do I unpin something? Unpin this message. There we go. The problem with the 1.5 second cooldown was super jumping with crouch on repeat for low rank was a big problem. But yeah, she's so static above season 3 for high rank, and it's annoying. Yeah, but the super jump being unusable in low rank, you say that, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, Mercy's still pretty survivable, so the super jump's unusable in low rank. That's fine by me. As long as there's a reasonable lean on doing it. I don't really mind about the super jump. What I mind about is the ability to 180, right? Because 180 takes literally zero skill whatsoever. Like literally zero skill. You look at what I'm doing up there. I am looking in a direction and pressing the spacebar. There's no input whatsoever. So that's accessible to really low ranks, and therefore it has to have a really high cooldown. Just based off that, just that one thing, being able to go in one direction and instantly change your momentum. That's all it is. It's just too strong. It's just way too strong. Can you do today's Wordle live? Yeah, of course I can. Or to see if I'm cheating. Do 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 do. Ah, blinding. Super jump literally couldn't work on my shitty keyboard, but but that's the thing. I'm not arguing for I'm arguing for less access to the 180-degree movement, not necessarily less access to the super jump. Pocketing is not a real problem. I actually really struggle with people because I think people, for the most part, don't remember what the game used to be like. And when people say, well, the game's really bad because of pocketing, I'm like, was the game that bad because of pocketing? Like, was that actually that bad? Was reactive healing actually that oppressive? Were Blizzard even trying to fix reactive healing with Season 9? Like, I don't understand. So here's a spoiler so you guys can cheat every single time. That's my starting word. I don't know, by the way, I did terrible guesses for the last 4 Wordles, then always clutch on the last 2 guesses. Okay, so I noticed, Didac, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you keep getting greens, and then the next guess you don't have a green anymore. What happens there? I want Doom one shot back? Yeah, you guys better be getting pretty fast. The 180-degree thing was so weird to me, like I don't understand what the point of the change in the first place. I think it just made the coding of it easier. Easy second guess. Oh, in 3, guys. Are we doing it in 3? Okay, we're doing it in 3. Maybe a lamb? No, it's not A. A's in the middle. Any Leah words? Usually start with audio. Beth, don't look. By the way, if Beth gets a good result. No audio spoilers. Sorry, the audio spoilers. I should just chill or say that. I think it's disingenuous to say pocketing is not a problem in the current state, and that just giving her more things fixes pocketing being an issue. The trouble is, I don't think Mercy's power was in the pocketing squeed. I think people misunderstood Mercy and did the pocketing despite it being quite bad. I think Mercy's power was in being able to pocket half the map at once. Right? Being able to pocket over here and pocket over here at the same time because I have all that movement, and that's really cool and fun, right? Just did the Wordle, I can't help you, Eddie. Oh, damn. By the way, if you want to do Wordle, it's in the bot channel there. I'm actually really bad at Wordle. So it could be Ain. It could be ale. If it was ale, it would had to be nail. Snail. No, we could use yes. Got it, let's go. Oh, shit. I gotta get it in free just to show up. Oh, you are the idiots. Try flail? There's an N in it. There's an N in it, Deacon. Thank God you're wrong, because... Thank God you're wrong, because I don't want spoilers on what it actually is. You seem off. Nail doesn't seem like it's working, does it? Nail does fit really well, though. I don't want to talk about it. Anail. Inail. I'm trying all the double letters, so I'm trying I and other stuff. Valve's goated? Valve's actually cheating. You can't just guess the right word. I don't think nail's working. I can't see a nail word. Are we allowed to share hints? No, you're not allowed to share hints. You're allowed to laugh at me when I get things wrong. That's what you're allowed. What? No. Come on. Come on. No. No. No, you did not. No. You're cheating. You must be. You're cheating. She used my ones. Definitely. Cheater. Like, absolute cheater. Somebody kick her off the server. Bob's also Val's also cheated, but at least they made it believable by getting one letter wrong. Divorce arc incoming. I have to marry her first. We're not going to do that. I want snail. Ah. So they have to be split up. Eel? Ale? That's a lot of consonant. That's not a vowels in the middle, isn't it? Lijiang? It could be Lijiang. He's joined up. Why do you keep going? What do you mean? Oh, the X. Yeah, the X is to fill the spot so you can put the rest in. That's my pro tip. Is it Tracer? I'm already Tracer. Why are you still freaking live? I would have raided. Well, I changed. Somebody asked me to do Wordle. Somebody asked me to do Wordle. Is what, you got plenty of time to raid me. Just put one in the bank for later, Spilo. Love you, by the way. You looked really nice in your shirt today. Do you work out? I think that guy works out. Do you think he works out, guys? Spilo, you're allowed to. You specifically are allowed to help. I hate you, standard. I know you got to say that because you got a wife, but I mean, yeah, I understand. It's all right. Oh, Spilo, if you're still here, I'm going to CrossFit tomorrow for the first time in my life. One of my friends does CrossFit. His wife, who I went to the wedding of recently, is a CrossFit coach. I'm going to CrossFit. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die so bad. Yeah, I can't do cardio. I'm terrible at cardio. Enjoy tearing a rotator cuff? I'm not gonna let them do anything to me that's interesting. I'm not gonna let them do anything interesting to me. They can piss right off. Yeah, I might. I'll do some of the exercises, obviously, but I'm not letting them anywhere near me. He's gone. No. I'm gonna be fine. Yeah, he's so far into the cult, Spilo. He's literally the cult guy. He's like, he met his wife at CrossFit, therefore CrossFit has changed his life. And I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, okay, yeah. He's like, you meet hot girls, and I'm like, oh, you got a partner. No, he didn't actually say that. I'm lost. I'm so bad at this. I've got. Nah, there's got to be ale, right? No. I keep coming back to snail. If only I had a brain. Oh, am I the fucking Tin Man? Is that what you're saying? Am I the Tin Man? I think you should do a word that filters letters. That's giving up, Amthos. That's giving up, right? I can't do a word that filters letters. It describes you. I don't even know what to guess. So if anyone wants to, no, yeah, French? No, I hope it's not French at the very least. Trail? It's not even close, reactionary. Literally Anthos telling me to use a filter word. I can't believe you. I'm going to be here all day. Knail. Knail. Silent K. Yeah, silent K. It's fine. It's like knigget. I use that to free filter words? Yeah, but that guarantees you're always going to do 4. You're never going to get free if you use filter words. Oh, God. Am I this stupid? Is it just stream, or am I just actually really stupid? Filter the word. I don't want to use a filter word. Which player played this? They would have got it like in one go, like Beth. Am I too hung up on the ale? Like I'm thinking. Reactionary, the A has to be in the middle. Do you not know how Wordle works? Go do this. You're too stuck on ale? Oh! Oh! This is new stream content, by the way. Just me staring at a Wordle page and not getting it. This all stream is from now. It's not Grail, is it? That doesn't have an N in it. Good try. Timed out to JFK. Don't. You didn't get stuff from Stream Summer Sale? No, I only get the things that I desperately want. I just pirate everything, I'm going to be honest. I'm a horrible human being. Blaine? Oh, Reactionary finally does one that might fit. Is Blaine a word? Blaine isn't a word, right? I'm cheating. That's a word, right? That's a word. Okay, to be fair, right? Fair news on Reactionary. Reactionary just learned to play Wordle and now has got the right thing on Wordle. Okay, he's learned to play Wordle just now and now he's got it, right? There you go. How is plain a French word? What do you mean by French? Are you just kidding? We'll shove them over there. Leaked? I mean, it's not really leaks. It's just arranging this. I mean, it is leaks, but it's not like we're saying anything to each other. Pull it off to the side. You can leak my, what can I leak to you? I don't really have anything to leak. You can leak that I've recently clipped all of these. Wow. Open the patch notes to scare Spilo. Yeah, Spilo is scared of patch notes, that's true. What's the patch notes do? There they are. There you go. Ah, he's scared of patch notes. Look at this bullshit. Look at this bullshit. Look at this. Look at this if you're still here. Look at this. Look at this. That is from the 9th, guys. It's a month ago, and all of this has happened. He's in fact still here. He might be. Probably very picked off. He messaged me on Discord, so he probably clicked off when he did that. I think it stays for like 30 seconds in the thing. Anyway, I'm going to head off. What day is it? It's Thursday. I'll be on tomorrow. So you can see me tomorrow. I have an announcement for tomorrow, however. I am doing CrossFit, as we've already confirmed, but he's arranged CrossFit for 6:30. Well, I had to be ready to leave. So I'm going to do an early stream tomorrow. Sorry for people that are Americans are getting up early, so I'm going to have to do an early stream. I might even come on when I get back, depending on how I'm feeling. I might tell you if I'm dying or not. I will be dying. So yeah, have a wonderful evening. I love you all. Thank you for listening to me yap with Spilo for a bit. I could have done better, but realistically, I think I did pretty well. Hopefully I convinced a couple of other people. Don't die. Get your workout out. I'll try my best. Pugs soon indeed. Yes. Yes. Except for Megamon, he deserves even less. Execute that man. See ya. See you guys. Have a nice evening. Thank you, 10. See you, Zenzo. Love you all. Bye.